2-0 Phils win, and they win the series against the Tigers 2-1. We got so much to get into. The Durantula last night comes in, saves the game. Christopher Sanchez has a shutout going. And a Schwarbaum is all the offense the Phillies needed. You know, we could look at it from a couple of different perspectives. One, if this was the World Series right now, and you were playing the Tigers, which is quite a possibility, the Tigers are the best team in the American League, the Phillies would be leading this series 2-1. Now, you would say 3 games wouldn't be in Philadelphia. How does that change things? And you'd be right. But this is a Phillies team that we have a lot of questions about at times, but let's keep into perspective. They just played the Tigers, who are about as good as an American League team you're going to find, right? Right now, they are probably the best team in the American League. And the Phillies beat them 2 games out of 3. You would have a 2-1 series lead if you were playing the World Series right now. Are the Phillies better than the Tigers? And we love to nitpick. We love to say they didn't do this, they didn't do that, they didn't get enough of this, they needed a bat. And the funny part is the game they lost is the game where Wheeler pitched. And we'll get into that as well. But did the Phillies do enough at the deadline to win series like that? You got Joan Duran, who came into the game on Friday night, a spectacle, and absolutely won that game. And, you know, a great return, comeback by the Phils. They're down 5-0. They come back and win that game. And the whole situation, the whole night was, you know, the fact that the whole music and light show, everyone's talking about it, right? And you add to that with now having that 9th inning lockdown closer guy, right? You have that guy now at the back end of a game that you feel fine about. But, you know, the thing is on Saturday, the same situation is Tarek Skubal pitches against your offense and he carves you up. You can't do anything against that guy. So he shuts your offense down. That's going to happen. And then yesterday you get 2 runs, but Christopher Sanchez is just absolutely masterful in the game. Duran closes it out, and you win the series 2-1. So if you're looking at a World Series situation, the Phillies and the Tigers, that's probably the best team in the American League that you're going to find. Are the Phillies better than the Tigers? You might say, yes, they are. Here's the problem. Are they better than the Dodgers? Are they better than the Padres? Are they better than the Mets? Are they better than the Brewers? Are they better than the Cubs? And I think that is where Phillies fans are still unsure. But for one weekend, they were the best team in the series against the best team in the American League. Right now, the Detroit Tigers, I guess you could make an argument. I mean, Toronto's 65-48, Detroit's 65-48. Those two teams, 65 wins at 48 losses, are the best teams in the American League. The best teams in the National League right now, the Brewers have 67 wins. The Dodgers and Cubs have 65. Philadelphia and New York both have 63. So the Phillies went toe-to-toe with the best team in the American League, and they beat them 2 out of 3. So are you all in? The calendar has flipped to the month of August. Are you all in on the Phillies? After watching this weekend, it's Phillies and Tigers. You got 2 primetime games, Fox afternoon, Saturday, Sunday night baseball. Are you all in on the Phillies? Poll question is up at Mike Gill Show. Absolutely. No, not buying in. EAGLES Eagles. They're your 3 choices. My producer is Josh Henning. That's the calendar. It flipped to August. Are the people all in on the Phillies as the calendar flips to August? Right now, the votes are coming in. Absolutely. No, not buying in. EAGLES Eagles. Where do you think the people are voting?
I think most people are going Phillies, but not because they're absolutely in, Mike, but because that was one of the 3 options that you gave that is closest. Like, you ever do one of those surveys where it says, how accurate is this statement about you? And then it gives you like a very accurate, mostly accurate, somewhat accurate. I think that absolutely they're in is the the most accurate, but I don't think it's 100% accurate because I think there are still some people that look at the Phillies and they say, hey, we're enjoying this team right now. We love the addition of Duran, and now we actually have something to look forward to some of these nights. But overall, I still see online and I still run into people who are very frustrated with this offense.
Well, the offense is frustrating, and offense around baseball is frustrating. As you saw, if you're the Detroit Tigers, aren't you frustrated by your offense this weekend as well? I mean, you lost the game on Friday night. You scored 5 runs and found a way to lose that game against the Phillies. So you're the best team in the American League, and your offense is frustrating. Actually, they lost 5-4, so they scored 4 runs. Yesterday, they didn't score a run, the Tigers. So you look at that offense. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How many Tigers can you name?
That was the point I was going to make. The Tigers don't have a lineup full of $500 million invested in their hitters. Like, if they get shut out, it's like, you know what? We needed Matt Vierling to come off the bench for us the other day and, hit for us. Like, the Phillies have a bunch of dudes in their lineup, and they are inconsistent.
Think about
That's
this.
The frustration.
The Tigers have 65 wins, best in the American League. Matt Vierling yesterday, batted leadoff. He's hitting 205 with a 292 on-base percentage.
Right.
And that's who they penciled into the leadoff spot. Can you imagine? I mean, those numbers are Max Kepler-esque. Max Kepler is hitting 201. Matt Vierling's hitting 205. Max Kepler's on-base is 294. Matt Vierling's is 292. Kepler's slug is 353. Vierling's is 231. They bat him leadoff yesterday.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And they have 65 wins.
But that's the difference. And that is, for a team like the Tigers, when their best hitter is maybe Gleyber Torres, right? It's the idea that if they don't get runs, you're kind of like, well, your lineup ain't that great. When the Phillies don't get runs, it's like, how are you spending all this money on Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos?
Tim in Summers Point says, Mike, I'm never going to be all in on the bats on this team. They're going to get carved up by starting pitching in the playoffs like they do every year with this squad. I've seen this movie before. Now, Saturday night, if that was any indication. Now, listen, Tim in Summers Point, Tarek Skubal's the best pitcher in baseball. And if you watch that game on Saturday night, it's not close. He overmatched the Phillies like no one I've ever seen. And he's probably, in all of baseball, the worst possible matchup for Philadelphia. He is a left-handed pitcher.
Right.
When your best 2 hitters are left-handed, and the rest of the lineup was so outclassed, so overmatched by him, that it just wasn't even a fair fight. But even with that, they found a way to scratch out a couple of runs against Skubal later on in the game and make that game interesting. But if you face a Skubal in the playoffs, that level of pitcher, you're probably going to lose that game. But you can only face that level of pitcher once. You look around the National League. How many teams have a starting rotation with a Tarek Skubal in them? 0. So the thing is, in the National League, right now, the Mets starting pitching is not good. They have a better back end of the bullpen.
Correct.
Their problem is they can't get to Helsley and Diaz. Right. They're having problems getting it to that part of the bullpen. San Diego's got a rock in it, back end of the bullpen. Their problem is their starting rotation is not all that good. The Phillies on Friday night, Jack Flaherty's shutting them down, and then the Phillies knock him out of the game, and then they become the bullpen bullies. They beat up on now, Detroit's problem is their bullpen is not all that good. They're the reverse of some of these teams.
They made trades the Tigers did to get guys, and the guys they traded for didn't help them this weekend.
Well, Finnegan shut you down on Saturday. He got the save in the game, and, obviously Detroit is weaker in their bullpen. They went out and got Kyle Finnegan to try to help with that, and their bullpen is not their strength. Their strength is their starting rotation. Philadelphia, obviously, their strength is their starting rotation. We saw on Saturday when Zach Wheeler, now that was a whole discussion. Nuggets and I were doing the On the Porch show on Saturday, and we got into a little bit of a debate about Wheeler. And he thought they should have pulled Wheeler from the game. I didn't quite have a problem with them keeping Wheeler in the game in that spot, and Wheeler ends up giving up the first ball is a ground ball to third that Otto Kemp boots. That would have been 1 out with any serviceable third baseman.
Right.
Then the next guy hits a home run. And everybody's saying, well, why'd you leave Wheeler in the game? Well, he's your ace. He's your guy. You really want to turn the game over to Jordan Romano at that spot or Max Lazar? I'm going to stick with, if it's me, I'm sticking with my ace for as much as I can. The guy's got 10 strikeouts. He settled in after the home runs that he gave up earlier in the third inning. I'm going with my ace because when people pull out the ace before he gets to a certain number of pitches, people say, why are you pulling Wheeler out of the game? Because every time you go from Wheeler to that bullpen, you're going with a lesser option. You're going with a lesser option when you go from Wheeler to the bullpen.
Absolutely.
So I didn't have a problem with that. You can make an argument that they should have taken Strahm out of the game. But again, this goes back to what we talked about a couple weeks ago with the whole thing with Luzardo. He gets the first 2 outs of the inning. There's 2 outs and nobody on base. And then he walks back-to-back guys. At that point, there's 2 outs, nobody on. When are you warming somebody up with 2 outs and nobody on?
Well, again, I go back to the Luzardo point, same thing this weekend, which is, where's the pitching coach? Why is he sitting on his butt in the dugout? Why can't you walk out there and be like, hey, man, how you doing? You good?
Right. That's where you probably could have gone to the mound and had a mound visit. But at that point, with 2 outs and nobody on, okay, now he walks a guy. It's 2 outs and now 1 on.
After the second walk.
You've gone to the mound visit.
After the second walk.
After the second walk, you say they should have gone out there.
Yeah, it's the same with Luzardo. The second walk a couple weeks ago or a week and a half ago, you go out after the second walk. There's no scenario why.
Because the first guy popped up, it's Torkelson.
Right.
Then Perez struck out. So there's 2 outs and nobody on base.
Right.
He walks McKinstry.
Right.
McKinstry steals second.
Really quick. 1 walk is not going to kill you. It should not kill you. You should be able to work out on 1 walk. But once you let the second walk go, that's where it's on the manager or the pitching coach to get off their butt and do something.
So Dingler ends up having that 10-pitch at bat.
What a name.
And he walks. So now you have 2 on with 2 outs, and Baez comes to the plate.
Right.
Should they have had Romano ready for Baez? Most likely that's the spot. But you go into the situation. When did Romano get up? Is he ready to go?
Right.
Would you rather Romano against Baez? Strahm's a guy that faces lefties and righties.
Correct.
So are you okay with them leaving Strahm in that game right there? And obviously Strahm gives up a tater.
Well, again, I feel a lot better leaving Strahm in the game if the pitching coach got off his butt and walked out there at the second walk. Because then maybe these questions change. Maybe Romano is ready at that point. Maybe Strahm doesn't let that tater go out of the ballpark. Maybe there's a point in time where people always complain, Mike, about I want the manager to do something. But those are scenarios where maybe somebody could have just.
Yeah, I definitely think after the walk, the McKinstry
walk.
walk. Now, I would have gone after the.
Oh, you're saying the first walk?
I would have gone out there after probably the first walk in the 8th. There's 2 outs. You walk the guy, and you got to go out there and say, listen, you're at 8 and 9 right here. We got to get this guy. Mm-hmm. We want to get this guy right here because we want to make them start off the 9th with Baez.
Right.
We don't want to get back to the top of the lineup to start things off. You got to get this guy right here.
Correct.
Then it's a 10-pitch. Give Dingler credit. He fouled off a ton of pitches. I mean, how many pitches he ended up fouling off? 1?
I would have guessed 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pitches he
5.
fouled off before he finally walked.
I forgot one. My bad.
So Dingler ends up walking. At that point, I think after you've gone out there, you try to sit. Now, you don't know what would have happened had they gone out there and walked. Maybe it's a different result in the bat. I have no clue. At that point, he walks Dingler. Now there's 2 on, and Baez comes up. Do you take Strahm out? He's generally the guy that you stick with in that situation. He faces lefties and righties, and you get to a spot where you have him a lefty facing the right-handed Baez, and the other option is Romano. Do you feel better with Strahm facing Baez or Romano facing Baez? I don't think anybody feels better with Romano facing anybody.
Correct.
So did the Phillies just say, hey, Strahm's our better pitcher, even though he just walked back-to-back guys, I'm sticking with him. That was the story of Saturday night, really was. Did they leave Wheeler in too long? Not for my liking. I know people that thought they should have taken him out of the game because you brought Banks in the game, and he ended up giving a home run anyway.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, maybe if you might have brought a guy here or there, might have changed the game. But ultimately, Mike, I think a lot of us still, despite Scooble having the great, you mentioned Flaherty.
Scooble was awesome.
But
I can watch him pitch every day.
But Flaherty on Friday night is kind of like the more of the example of what frustrates people, and that is Flaherty is a guy like we had Kevin Durso in the studio, and we talked about how Flaherty is one of these guys that he's never consistent. He's got this high potential. You can take advantage of him because he's not the best pitcher in the world, and then he makes you look foolish. And it's just like you're just rolling your eyes. Of course, the game that Flaherty actually shows up.
Well, Flaherty's bounced all over the place. He's been kind of like a hired gun and is never a top-of-the-rotation guy, but he's always kind of like that, second or third guy. And, I thought he pitched pretty well in the game on Friday night, really. I mean, he kept – and as soon as they got him out of the game, that's when the Phillies were able to get back into the game.
But some of those at-bats were horrible. Some of those approaches were so bad.
Even yesterday, though, you're facing Charlie Morton, a guy who has been hurt, missed a lot of time. He just got traded, an ERA up in the 5th. Now, he's a crafty guy, but I thought he really shut you down yesterday.
He picked you apart.
Absolutely last night. 6 innings, 4 hits for Morton. He had 6 strikeouts as well. And then, obviously the Phillies win the game, but it's only 2-0. But, hey, I think that series against Detroit, it is a preview of what the playoffs are going to look like for the Phillies, where you're going to face a guy like Scooble. You're going to face a guy like Flaherty. Now, the big difference is the Detroit bullpen. You are not facing a bullpen like that in the playoffs. That's the big difference. That's the big difference for me. The Detroit bullpen is not good. 609-403-0973.
What's also interesting is that if you look at the Phillies this weekend, and again, we can't take the Scooble start and apply it, okay? Because as you mentioned, there's not a bunch of guys like that out there.
None. 0 guys like that.
But it's the frustrating part for fans is, again, Charlie Morton and Flaherty. You got 2 pitchers who are not Scooble, and you had issues with them. And I think that's where, when you look back on the deadline, and you see the only hitter you got out of it was Harrison Bader.
And by the way, Bader yesterday came in to pinch hit. He, grounded out, I think. He hit for Kepler at some point. I think he grounded out. I don't really remember. But Friday night, he did not start the game. That was a big story. He did come into the game. He ended up walking and scoring a run. And then on Saturday, he did not.
Saturday
he started the game.
Scooble.
Yes, and I'm saying he did. I was going to say he did not have any effect in that game because he got carved up by Scooble.
Right.
Yeah.
Best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, he was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Kemp was completely outclassed and overmatched. He was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Sosa, no shot for him. He was 0 for 3. The only guy who actually hit him was Wilson.
Yeah,
Wilson doubled off of him, and then Harper hit the home run. But that was off Vest. He didn't hit that off of Castellanos hit the home run. That's right. Castellanos, I forgot about him. He's the one who hit the home run. Give Castellanos has had a little run here. Give him a little credit. I'm always hard on him. But when he gets credit, when credit is due.
What's more surprising, him hitting the home run or him getting RBIs?
Aren't they the same?
Home
run is an RBI?
When they usually hits home runs, they'll be on base.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying this week he has had come up in some big spots. He had the singles to start those innings in the comeback on Friday night. I think he had him twice.
Right.
609-403-0973. Get a couple text messages here. Guys, I can't wait to get Nola back. I think Nola's pitching tonight, is it? When is he pitching again, Nola? He threw on Wednesday. He's going to be back here soon, I would imagine. Tim in Summers Point says, Mike, you raised good points that I didn't consider, and now I do feel a little bit better. Mike, thank you. You're welcome, Tim.
His next rehab start is this Wednesday.
Robbie in Little Egg Harbor. The Phillies need a new pitching coach now. When a pitcher's in trouble, the pitching coach have to walk to the pitcher and talk to him. Robbie, the Phillies have the best starting pitching in baseball. It'd be hard to say they need a new pitching coach.
I don't think the pitching coach is the problem. I think it's just how assertive or lack of assertive he is at times is the problem.
Guys, the impact bat they needed wasn't available. They did what they could without putting too big of a dent in the farm. Yeah, I mean, the Phillies, look, they got Bader. I think after the 15th, when we get back on that Monday, the 18th, okay, the 15th, I believe, is a Friday.
Yes.
We will see if Crawford is up here. Because Thompson said the other day, we play righty-lefty for the next 6 days. I think they're giving Kepler this week of the righty-lefty, and after that, I think they will hopefully make the decision on Crawford and say, Kepler is not producing for us. We've got to make a change.
And by the way, they don't have to call up Crawford to get rid of Kepler. They could just get rid of Kepler anyway. They could call up Aaron Nola from his rehab assignment and then DFA Kepler.
I personally would have got rid of Kepler and kept Rojas if my plan was to platoon Bader anyway. I would just platoon Bader and Marsh in left field and have Rojas play center field until I'm ready to call up Crawford.
Makes
and
sense
this
to
way
me.
you have your left-handed, right-handed platoon in left field. Rojas is proven to be a fine average guy when he plays every single day. So just let him play every single day in center field. And then you have your best center fielder, Rojas, and your best left fielder, Bader, and Marsh is a good left fielder. So you have two good outfielders every night of the week. And then when you're ready to call up Crawford, he replaces Rojas, and that's when you can ship Rojas out. Now, the odd part was yesterday. They talked about wanting Rojas to play left and right field. Yesterday, he was batting fifth and playing center field. Batting fifth. As if he was like some RBI guy.
I was going to say, at the big league level, I think it's always better to have some stability and consistency, and guys can just be like, all right, this is my role. You know, none of this, Bader's in left, Bader's in center, Bader's in center, and Bader's like, why don't you just sit the guys down and be like, hey, here's the plan. We're going to do this. Let's go.
Wednesday, join the Sports Bash Live at Yuri's. It's another watch party. The Phillies and the Orioles will be there with the Eagles championship trophy. You can come out and get your picture taken as the Phillies take on the Orioles this Wednesday from 2 to 6. Phillies O's. Another watch party at Yuri's in Wildwood. I actually was in Wildwood yesterday, Josh. Stopped over at the world-famous Kona Sports. I haven't been there since I was a little kid.
Wow.
Yeah, walked around in there for a little bit. And, down in Wildwood yesterday, drove right by Yuri's on my way out of town, and we'll be there this Wednesday. Stop out and see us live this Wednesday. The Sports Bash on location. More text messages coming in, 609-403-0973. When we come back, Mike McGarry looks back at the weekend, Phillies and Tigers. What did we learn? Find out next. All right, 2:30 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Phillies and Orioles tonight at Citizens Bank Park. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. What a weekend at Citizens Bank Park. It was alumni weekend. You got the debut of Johan Duran. What a spectacle that was. You got it twice. Now, I asked the question, would you pay an extra $15 to see Duran's entrance? In other words, if you bought your ticket on like StubHub or SeatGeek or one of those places, or even Ticketmaster through the Phillies website, and Duran pitched, they charge you an extra $15. If he doesn't appear, you don't have to pay the $15. But he's an attraction that they did not have before that you are now getting. And I feel like if you go to a Phillies game and he doesn't enter the game, you feel cheated. You feel cheated if you don't see Duran, or if it's a day game. You're not going to get the same attraction in the day. Got to pay. I think if I'm the Phillies, I'm charging an extra $15 when Johan Duran comes out with that whole entrance. Mike McGarry was there to see it on Friday night and Sunday night. You saw him twice this weekend. First off, let's talk about the spectacle that is Johan Duran's entrance, Mike. That place had to be absolutely bonkers when he came out.
Yeah, it was outstanding, and I think you're exactly right. I mean, last night Christopher Sanchez threw 84 pitches, right, after the eighth inning. A week ago or 4 days ago, everybody's probably saying Christopher Sanchez has got to go back out for the ninth. I bet you last night there was nobody in that ballpark that wanted to see Sanchez in the ninth inning. They want to see the tarantula, right? They want to see the entrance. It's like, going to Chase City Field, you want to see Edwin Diaz and Timmy Trumpet. You wanted to see Mariano and Enter Sandman when he came in. So, yeah, that entrance last night. Hey, baseball is entertainment, and baseball has been behind the other sports, basketball, football, and even hockey as far as these entrances and celebrating their athletes. And I just thought, what a scene there Friday night and last night. And, Mike, I posted this question last night. I'm not talking the most accomplished closer in Phillies history, but has there been a Phillies closer with the stuff of Johan Duran? I don't think so.
Oh, it'd be hard-pressed to see a guy throwing 103 miles an hour. I don't think I've ever seen a Philly guy do that. Anybody at the back end of the bullpen. I know Alvarado cranked it up to 101 every now and then, but this guy's on another level. And it's amazing because, you see this entrance, you see him, you see his stuff, and you're thinking, there's probably a ton of people listening to this conversation, Mike, who had no idea who this guy was until Friday.
Yeah, well, he's locked away in the wilds of the North up there in Minnesota, and unless you're a big fan of the American League Central, you're probably not seeing him on a regular basis. I had heard of him. I had never seen him pitch in person. Obviously, I'd seen him a couple times on TV and had heard about him, obviously. But, boy, when you see him in person, like you said, the 103-mile-an-hour fastball, the 98-mile-per-hour splinker, or whatever he calls it. And here's a guy who doesn't give up home runs, strikes people out, and gets ground balls. Those are the three things you want in a closer. I mean, he's almost ready for any situation. Need a double play ball, he can get you that double play ball. Need a strikeout, he can get you that strikeout. Keep the ball in the park. Boy, I mean, Dave Dombrowski pulled off a good one here by getting this guy in, and you have him for 3 more Octobers, too.
Yeah, that's the big part about it was they have him long-term. He is not a rental. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. So you saw him now, and the dynamic he adds. They got Harrison Bader. He didn't make a huge impact this weekend. But you've watched this team. You've been in the ballpark all year long. What do these two pieces give this team right now?
Well, I mean, he locks down the back end. Duran locks down the ninth inning for you, and that was a question mark. And honestly, it's been a question mark for all of the Rob Thompson era. I mean, this guy is light years ahead of Carlos Estevez. He is light years ahead of Craig Kimbrell. He is light years ahead of Zach Eflin, who was closing some games in 2022. So he gives you a knockdown, drag-out closer. You're up 2-0 like you were in the ninth inning. You're up 1-0. You got a 1-run lead like you had Friday night, 5-4. You feel good about sending him to the ninth inning. Harrison Bader, we'll see what he delivers. I think eventually, Mike, you're going to see Harrison Bader be the everyday center fielder, and I think you're going to see Brandon Marsh platooning in left field with a right-handed bat. Who that right-handed bat is at this time, I'm not sure. I think it might be Otto Kemp, but I think that's the way the situation is headed. Harrison Bader is too good defensively, and right now, you just take a look at the season he's having. By all measure, he's the Phillies' best outfielder, so he's got to be out there on an everyday basis, and I think the spot for him is center field.
Where does this put Justin Crawford? What vibe do you get about his role this season, if at all?
Well, a couple things. Dave Dombrowski has said repeatedly that, A, they could call him up now, but if they call him up, they want him to play every day. He needs to play every day. And I think if they call him up, is he going to play every day? Not with Harrison Bader here, not with Marsh here. Could he be part of a platoon? But they don't want him to be part of a platoon. They want him to be playing every day. So, and the other thing Dombrowski has said, if we don't call him up and we keep him in the minor leagues and he gets a full year of AAA development, that is certainly not going to hurt him and might benefit him in the long run. So I think if an injury came up or something happened where a spot was opened up for Crawford to play every day, I think he'd be here. But if he can't play every day, I think he's going to stay in Lehigh Valley.
So you don't see a Marsh-Bader platoon in left with Crawford taking over center field?
I don't see that right now. I hear that Crawford's better position is actually left field, so they might want him to play left field in the big league.
By the way, he played left field yesterday with Rojas in center.
Right. So, maybe they're getting him ready for that situation. But, again, I just come back to a thing. They want this guy playing 5, 6, 7 days a week when he comes up, because to bring him up and sit him on the bench isn't going to do anybody any good. And I don't know if there's a spot right here for him now with the people they have in the outfield as it's presently constituted.
All right, Mike, give me your expository on Kepler and this whole situation. Everybody, just every time he's in the lineup, there's a meltdown. Is this going to continue? Is this a short-term thing? Thompson said, well, we got 6 games coming up. 3 of those are now in the books. Are we looking at the last 3 games of Kepler, or do you think, no, they are pretty locked into keeping him around?
Yeah, I mean, Mike, again, I got to confess, I was probably on here with you in the winter thinking this was a good, solid move. I thought he would be a guy who would come in and play against right-handed pitching and hit 20 home runs. He has obviously not been that. And I just think it's coming to an end. When it exactly ends, we don't know. It could end after this, 3-game series in Baltimore. They've got an off day on Thursday. Then they go on the longest road trip of the year, right? A 10-game trip out to the West Coast. And then they come back and play in Washington. So if you were going to do something with Max Kepler, if the Max Kepler situation was going to come to a head, I think this Thursday would be a good situation for it to happen. It's a move that just didn't work out, Mike. And I know what you're saying. He comes to the plate, the ballpark groans. You hear his name announced, the ballpark groans. It almost might be better for him to go someplace else now, because I don't think it's going to happen here in Philadelphia for him.
All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Now, if over at Press of Atlantic City you take a look at some of Mike's work, you'll see that, the game on Friday, they're down. They come back. They win that game. They get Durantula to close it out. They face Skubal on Saturday. They get absolutely carved up by him. They get back into that game, but then the Wheeler thing, would you have taken Wheeler out, or are you okay with leaving him in?
Well, he said he wanted to go back out for that 7th inning, and I'm okay with leaving him in. I know he gives up the 2-run home run, but if Otto Kemp doesn't make the error, maybe it's a solo shot, and then his line practically matches Skubal's. I mean, he goes 6 1/3, gives up 3 runs. Skubal won 7 innings, gave up 3 runs. So I don't have an issue with Wheeler going back out there, only because, he should have been out of the inning. And if Kemp doesn't make the error, does that change the way he pitches to Baez? So Baez doesn't hit a 2-run home run? You don't know. But I thought his defense kind of let him down in that 7th inning, and I had no problem with Wheeler going back out there for a 7th inning.
We're on the same page there. I don't have a problem with Wheeler in that spot. What'd you think of the Strom thing there in that Saturday night game or Saturday afternoon game? He gets the first 2 out. This is kind of like the Luzardo thing the other day. He gets the first 2. Well, Luzardo put 2 on, then he got 2 out. This was the opposite. He gets the first 2 out. It's 2 out with nobody on, and then the inning kind of gets away from him, and Baez pops a dinger. Now, they let him face Baez. Do you leave Strom in after he walks 2 guys back-to-back? He had the 10-pitch at bat to Dingler. Do you go to Romano in that spot, or do you let Strom face Baez there?
Yeah, I let Strom face Baez in there, but that's a bad job by Strom. Not only, Mike, does he get the first 2 outs in the inning, but I think he's up 2. He gets to 2 strikes on the third hitter before he walks that guy to sort of start the whole inning. So that's the one concern I have coming out of this weekend. You take 2 out of 3 from the Tigers. You're back in first place. It's a great weekend, a great feel-good weekend. Phillies do a great job with the alumni weekend stuff. But the thing that concerns me is, okay, now you got the Durantula in the back of this bullpen. You got the closer in the 9th inning. But the bridge to the closer still worries me. Kirkering gives up the home run Friday night. Strom comes back, gives up 2 runs in what was a winnable game. If that game stays 5-3 instead of 7-3, maybe the Phillies come back and win that game. So I am concerned about the bridge. You have the guy in the 9th inning now. You got the lockdown guy. I'm still concerned about how you bridge from the starter to Durantula. And, of course, last night was what the Phillies should hope for every night. That's the best way to do it. Starter goes 8 innings, boom, Durantula in the ninth.
Let me ask you this.
That's how you draw it up.
I need you to ask Thompson this, okay? No one seems to ask this. Maybe they did and I missed it because the game was not. But Kirkering, is there any, he didn't pitch for 6 days. He gives up the home run. And then the next day, I guess it's a weird spot because that's where Wheeler doesn't, he starts the inning. Is Kirkering not available because it's back-to-back days? It seems like this is a bit an odd relationship here between Kirkering and these back-to-back days because I guess if Wheeler doesn't go in, there's 2 righties because Topper did say we had Banks ready to go for Keith, who's a lefty.
Right.
Is Kirkering not available on Saturday, or is it because they're losing the game 2-0 at that point? Because you wrote about it over at PressOfAtlanticCity.com, and you just commented on it here that there's 2 questions. Despite the acquisition of Duran, is their bullpen good enough, and do they hit enough home runs? The home run thing, they got the home run from Schwarber yesterday. I don't know if they hit enough home runs, but they did for this weekend. But the Kirkering, what's his deal, and how come he's not being considered in that spot?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something we'll have to follow up with and kind of look closely at because it seems like Kirkering has gone, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 days between appearances sometimes. And it feels like, it's hard for any reliever to sort of stay sharp in that situation. Now, is that just a victim of, starters going deeper into games? Is days off? Is, matchups there? But you're absolutely right. Kirkering has kind of been used sporadically here, and you would expect him to be more of a mainstay or more of a constant guy coming out of that bullpen. So that's a good catch by you and something we'll follow up on at the park.
All right, the home run thing. You asked about it over at PressOfAtlanticCity.com. You wrote about it this weekend. After the loss, 2 questions remain. Is this lineup with Bader good enough?
Yeah, that's it. Unfortunately in baseball, right, the team that hits the most home runs wins. And on Saturday's game, Wheel or Scooble, everybody's expecting a pitching matchup, and it was a great pitching matchup. But, however, it turned into a little bit of a home run derby here. The Phillies hit, 2? The Tigers hit 4. The Tigers win. I just think the ability to change the game with one swing is huge. And, obviously, you saw it last night, right? Schwarber hits that home run in the 8th inning. 2-0 is so much better than 1-0, right?
You're right.
So the ability to add to a lead or to change a game, come back with one swing of a bat. And it's amazing when you look at the Phillies lineup in the beginning of the year, you thought that was going to be a strength. You say this team in this ballpark is going to hit home runs. Do they have enough guys who can go deep and hit those game-changing home runs? I think it's a question, and I guess we're going to have it answered, the rest of this season in October. But you'd think they'd be better at it than they actually are.
All right, a couple quickies. By the way, over at PressOfAtlanticCity.com, I saw a little addition that I like over on the website there. The box score is on the website now.
No.
Go box score on the website. I love it. I feel like a kid again. I get the box score on the website. The people who don't get the paper every single day, the box score used to be the thing. You look at the box score. You got it on the website now. I love it. Aaron Nola will throw Wednesday. David Robertson available to call up. They're not calling him up. They say he's not ready yet. So those two storylines this week, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Nola, 3 innings on, I believe it was Friday up at Worcester. Hit 90 on the velocity. They expect him to be a little bit better or get more velocity as he continues on his comeback. But, hey, no runs in 3 innings, so that's a good first step for him. And, if they get Nola back with a fresh arm for the final 6-7 weeks of the season, that's another boost to the rotation. As far as David Robertson, that leads into what, we kind of talked about earlier, is the bridge from, the starter, that bridge from the 6th inning to the 9th inning, the bridge there to Durantula. You figure David Robertson could be a part of it. That's why they signed him. However, he roughed up on Friday in his AAA appearance, and Rob Thompson said he just did not have his fastball command, and he compared it to kind of David Robertson being in spring training around March 10th, 11th, 12th, which is about halfway through spring training. So if you go like that, you might not see David Robertson here for another 7 to 10 days. But again, Mike, that brings me back to my argument. The two weaknesses this team has, to me, do they hit enough home runs? And B, now that they've got that closer, who are the bridge guys to get to that closer? And the question mark about Robinson, adds to that question.
And I want to know about Kirkring if you're up there tonight, all right?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
I'm the editor. That's the question you need to ask there.
There you go.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Mike is back on Wednesday. I'm actually off the rest of the week here. Actually, I'm on tomorrow. I'm heading to Portugal and then Prague. I'll talk to you when I get back.
All right, you enjoy yourself. I'm headed to Margate. I'll see you later.
I'll see you, man. All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Wednesday, the guys will be filling in for me down at Yuri's. You can see Pete and Nick down there on Wednesday's show. I'm in tomorrow for most of the day, and we're going to come back with Hembo said something to me on Friday. If you missed my conversation with Paul Hembekitis Hembo, check it out on the YouTube channel, at Mike Gill Show, 97.3 ESPN. What will be the reason the Phillies win the World Series? You'll hear what Hembo told me next on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 252 Sports Bash. Coming up at 3:30 today, you'll hear from Vic Fangio about some of the battles that are materializing on the defensive side of the ball. He had some interesting things to say about the cornerback spot. We have football at 4 coming up later on with Jeff Mosher today here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Hill. Happy to have you with us on a Monday. Phil's win the series. I like this text message from Phil in Brigantine, always a good texter, says, Mike, the last 2 games were indicative of a playoff series. My take is the offense will continue to be shaky in the playoffs, so in my honest opinion, they will only go as far as their pitching will take them. Starters have to get 7 innings, giving up only 2 runs. If they get that production in most games, they will likely win it all. As long as they have a competent 2-inning bridge, Ranger and Luzardo can help to 103 Duran. Phillies have great starters. Is it enough? What are your thoughts? Well, here is what Paul Hembekides told me on Friday's show when I asked him about that very thing.
Rotation front to back, a better starting rotation front to back, and candidly, better staff 1 through 13 starters and relievers than any team in the sport.
They have better starters front to back and better 1 to 13 candidly than anyone in the sport, he says. So you're right about that. 1 to 13, you're talking about the bullpen as well. Do you agree with him there? But Phil, I will say, yes, you saw last night, there's your blueprint. You need that type of game to happen. Your starter gets you 8 innings. I would say 7 is sufficient, but 8 would be ideal. Because if you can get to the 7th and you can get Kerkering, Luzardo, somebody else in there, David Robertson, I don't know if I feel great about that right now. But yes, Phil, your text is valid, and Paul Hembekides, Hembo, agrees with you. Their starters are the bridge to Duran. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Hey, coming up tonight at 5 o'clock, Bob Cooney from NBC Sports Philadelphia, who's covering the Phillies. He'll join me to talk some more Phils when we come back. It's your text messages here on the Bash. 3 o'clock, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Eagles training camp coverage, you can get it all right here. Vic Fangio, 3:30, you'll hear his press conference as the Eagles are back Thursday night right here on 97.3 ESPN. You can also get football at 4 with Jeff Mosher coming up in 1 hour from now on the Sports Bash. I'm Mike Gill. Hope you're enjoying your Monday. Phils are certainly an interesting team, 63-48. They'll play the Orioles tonight when the lineup drops. It should be, this hour. We'll get it to you here on the Sports Pass Live on 97.3 ESPN. Now, the pitcher tonight for the Orioles, the Phillies have never faced. Not one guy in the lineup has faced the pitcher tonight, Cade Povich. He's a lefty, which means you don't have to see Kepler tonight. You don't have to get the Kepler experience. But I would imagine you're going to get Weston Wilson in left field tonight, I would guess. You're going to get Sosa at second. You'll get Kemp at third, Wilson in left. See, this is where I think they should. You play Rojas in center and Bader in left, and you have a much better outfield. You focus on the defense because you now are below average at third. Sosa is not as good at second as Stott is. There was 3 balls the other night that I think Sosa did not get to that Stott would have gotten to. So you're weaker at second, you're weaker at third, you're weaker in left. And quite frankly, Bader's not as good as Rojas is in center. So I would have Rojas in center, Bader in left, and then you have Kemp there and Sosa there. But there's no reason for Weston Wilson to have to play left field. He's awful out there. So there's no reason to have Wilson here. He's the odd man out. He should be the odd man out.
To me, Mike, I just go back to the fact that it's like this team, they just don't want to commit. Like they're afraid of committing to a plan. They keep want to have these guys, well, today you're going to go here and then you're going to go there. And it's like, why can't we just have stability? Why can't you just like, hey, Marsh, Bader, left field is yours. Rojas, center is yours till further notice. Why can't you just tell these guys this is your assignment?
Well, they told Rojas you're going down to learn how to play some left and right, and then they played him in center field.
Yeah.
The first day he had a chance to play, he went down to center and played in center field, and they moved Crawford over to left field. So
for Gazy.
They basically pivoted off their plan right off the bat.
And that's the problem. They keep changing, moving the goalposts. They keep telling, we're going to do this thing, and then they change it.
Well, do you think that, that was what Thompson said? Well, I talked to Rojas. I told him I want him to go work on playing left and right. And then the front office said, you're not playing left and right. You're going down to play center. Because
you really think Thompson is, making this up as he goes along, though? I doubt that.
Why would he come out and say, we want you to play left and right field? The first game that he was in the lineup.
Because maybe the front office told him that's what they're going to do.
The first day that he was in the lineup, it was in center field, and they moved Crawford to left field.
I know.
So it seems like someone wasn't on the same page if the manager came out and said, we want you to go play left and right, and then his first day, what do you think the Lehigh Valley manager went rogue and said, to hell with this, I'm playing this guy in center field because that's where he belongs? I have a hard time with that.
I'm just trying to process where are we getting the disconnect? Where is the disconnect coming from?
Well, there's a lot of disconnects here. One, for some reason, and I don't know what the reason is, maybe we'll find out on the 16th. Justin Crawford is not up here. Right. Now, this date, the 15th, is the date when if he comes up after the 15th, then he gains, or the Phillies gain the year on him. He doesn't.
Right, they can kick his official rookie year.
The clock doesn't start for him, so they don't have to. They would basically own his rights for one extra full year before he gets to arbitration.
Right.
All these teams are trying their damnedest not to have to pay these guys, so the Phillies are essentially going to wait another 10 days here until they get to that date, so that he doesn't lose his rookie status. Now, on the 16th. If he's not up here, that would tell you that they just don't think this kid is ready to play and help this team out. Right?
Correct.
That would be the case. If he's not up here by then, that would be them saying, this guy's not ready and he's not helping this team this year. I don't think that's going to happen. I would be pretty amazed if by the end of the year that Max Kepler was still here playing left field against right-handed pitching and that Justin Crawford was at the minor league level. Now, you have until – because remember, the rosters expand in September.
But they don't expand like the way they used to. It's not like
No.
we can just bloat the team up like crazy.
But my point on this is, yes, you can't just call up every single guy that you want. But my point is this. If they want Crawford to be eligible to be on the postseason roster,
Right.
he has to be one of those call-ups.
Correct. But then it goes back to the comment that Dave Dombrowski made, which is he said that they want Crawford playing every day. So we have to keep in mind that unless Dombrowski is not telling the truth, I'm going to assume he is.
That's why I think that by the 16th he has to come up. They want to control the extra year of him, fine. And by the way, the Phillies lineup is out for tonight. And the lineup tonight is brought to you by Instant Services, South Jersey's premier HVAC, plumbing, and electrical service provider. Go to instantservices.com to learn about their preventative maintenance memberships and how they can keep your systems running strong year-round. The lineup is out. It is Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Nick Castellanos, Harrison Bader in center, Otto Kemp at third, Edmundo Sosa at second, and Weston Wilson in left.
Yeah, they are who we thought they were.
It's the exact lineup that I gave you. And to which some people, Weston Wilson, why not Crawford? We have seen enough of Wilson and Kepler. The team would be much better suited. And I said, forgot, you don't want to call Crawford up because of the whole team control. I'm on board.
Sure.
I can last 10 more days without seeing Justin Crawford here. But I would much, if I'm pitching, I'm Jesus Luzardo, and I have Weston Wilson and Otto Kemp on the left side of my infield, along with Trey Turner, who's not great at short either. I'm saying, excuse me, can you please put Rojas in center and give me Bader in left?
Well,
So this way, any ball hit in the outfield, I at least feel I have a pretty good chance of being caught. Now, any ball hit to left field, we're in the triangle between third, left, and short as a Bermuda Triangle over there.
It goes back to why do you acquire a guy like Joan Duran? Because he makes everybody else slot in to something that's better for them. Rojas in center field allows other people to be in their maybe more natural or better positions or take unnecessary players like Weston Wilson out of the field.
Paul Hembekides was on the show on Friday. I asked him about Harrison Bader, because Bader is another big factor here. He is in the lineup tonight, but how do the Phillies view him in terms of, is he an everyday player? Is he a platoon player? And quite frankly, as Paul Hembekides says, he shouldn't be a platoon player. He's the best outfielder you got.
Harrison Bader is the Phillies' best outfielder. That is not my opinion. It is a statement of fact. This season, Harrison Bader has a well above average batting line against lefties, a well above average batting line against the righties. He is plus 5 in center field when it comes to his defensive run save. He is plus 8 in left field when it comes to defensive run saves. What I just ran through was all the things you would ever need him to do: hit righties, hit lefties, and play two-thirds of your outfield. He can do so adeptly, and the season he is having tells me that he should be in the lineup every day. And obviously the corresponding move with Johan Rojas being sent down today is a curious one, and I am hoping that the Phillies do not double down on mistakes that they have already made this season.
So with that being said, Mike, why? Hembo's saying it, you're saying it, I'm saying it. Everyone seems to be saying the same thing. Why are the Phillies not playing Bader every day?
Well, I can't answer that question at this moment. I will go with what Rob Thompson said on Friday, and I will give him those benefits of the doubt. He said, we have 6 straight games coming up where it's righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty. They have Kepler here, and the date that I gave you, which is August the 15th, they are trying to get to that date. That is when they can make the decision on Crawford. And at that point, when they call Crawford up, the question will become, do they call Crawford up here and say center field is yours to play or left field? Because that's the interesting part. He played left field yesterday. Now, did anybody ask, I don't know what the media is like at Lehigh Valley, but did anybody ask the Lehigh Valley manager, hey, what gives? Why Crawford in left field today? Do we have any expository on that? Did anybody answer that question? Why left field today for Crawford? I mean, that's got to be the question, right?
Well, it should be the question.
Because if he comes up and plays left field here every single day, that means Kepler's out of a job. If he comes up here and plays center field every single day, Kepler would still be out of a job because Marsh would take his spot as the left-handed bat in the platoon.
Correct.
So I do think that under that reasoning, you're asking a question. Why is Kepler still playing? Why is he still here? They don't want to call Crawford up until after the August 15th date so that they don't lose his rookie status. And if Kepler's still here, they're going to continue to platoon that position.
But you don't have to have Kepler here.
Well, you're not
You
going
can
to
platoon with Marsh and Bader, and like you said, put Rojas in center field.
Yeah, but they demoted Rojas. So Rojas is not an option right now. Now your question would be why? I would ask the same thing. If it were me, I would have just ripped off the Band-Aid. I would have kept Rojas here, played him in center field until the 15th, had the other two guys platoon there, and I would have DFA'd Kepler and just moved on from it because you're just prolonging this thing and you have the people saying, why? Why? That's the distraction of why is this guy hitting? Why is he here? Why is he playing? He has no role. And by the way, he has not contributed anything in the time that he has been here since everything. So you're just making it worse. You could have already ripped the Band-Aid off of this thing and said, look, we made a mistake. Let's move on. It's time to move on. Max Kepler right now has a WAR of minus 0.6. Minus 0.6 is Max Kepler's WAR right now. He is hitting 201. 201. So no one, if you're the Phillies, no one is going to give you grief if you make this decision. It's not happening. Right now, all right, against right-handed pitching, which is he's a left-handed batter, so he's facing righties. He's hitting 202. He does have 10 homers against righties. Does that do anything for you?
No, because all you're basically doing is telling me that he's a part-time player, and
it's okay. Part-time players can have roles.
But the whole point of his complaint back on June 27th was, I need to be an everyday player.
Okay, now that's a better reasoning. But there is a role for a guy who is just Matt Stairs, one-trick pony. Go up there and swing the bat and hit a home run. I don't think that he's Matt Stairs. I'm not giving him that, but I'm saying he does have 10 home runs. You know, he's the one guy that has a little power from the left side off the bench.
Wait, it would be different, though, if
he's hitting 091, by the way, in the last 7 days. He's hitting 091 with an 083 on-base percentage and has struck out 3 times in the last week. So even in the last week, you're saying, hey, we're giving you one more opportunity. In the last 30 days, he's hitting 154. In the last 15 days, he's hitting 152. And in the last week, he's hitting 091. In fact, in the month of July and August and May, okay, we're going all the way back to May now. May, June, and July. In the months of May, June, and July, he has not hit over 190 in any of the months. In May, he's 188. In June, he's 162. I take that back. In July, he's 196. So in the month of May, June, and July, he has not hit over 200 in any of the months. I mean, to me, that gets you fired.
So basically,
if your performance is under 200 for 3 straight months, how can you look at your team in the face and say, we are putting the best product out there to try to win? And I can't do it to my team. I can't do it.
So you're basically telling me that ever since he complained, he's gotten worse.
I don't remember the date he complained.
June
I think
27th.
We were at Vendor
June
Social.
27th.
All right, so June 27th. In May, he hit 188. In June, he hit 162. And actually, no, in July, he hit 196, so he actually improved.
Marginally.
But his on-base percentage is, in those 3 months, May, 275 on base, 279 in June, and 277 in July. Look, he has been an absolute – and look, you don't need this hovering over the team. You have better options. Even if you don't call up Crawford, you have a better option. You can platoon Marsh and Bader in left field, and you can play Rojas in center field. And now people would say Rojas stinks. You're better defensively with Rojas out there, and he can bat ninth. You don't really need him to hit 350, right?
Yeah, Rojas not hitting is not the reason why this team wins.
By the way, Rojas adds more offense than Kepler does.
He can get on base by just running out of base.
Well, I mean, Kepler's hitting under 200. He's hitting 201. which is worse than Rojas. By the way, as we told you before, Rojas has the highest WAR of any outfielder on the team other than Bader.
Correct.
Think about that. Right now, the WAR,
But that
which is
makes it
wins
worse.
above replacement.
That makes this worse. That the two guys with the best wins above replacement are not in the lineup every day.
Rojas
I thought you were an
is-
analytics-driven organization, Phillies.
Rojas is 0.6, which is the best out of all the outfielders not named Bader.
Yes.
The next highest one is Marsh, which is now up to 0.3. After him, you've got Weston Wilson at negative 0.2, Nick Castellanos at negative 0.4, and Max Kepler at negative 0.6. That is the construction of your outfield.
Again, I asked the question. If this is an analytics-driven organization, how can you have two guys who analytically show that they are the two best outfielders and you're not starting them every day? Make it make sense, Mike Gill.
I really am perplexed by the fact that Kepler's still here because I will say this. They did last year pull the plug on the Whit Merrifield thing.
Quickly. They got rid of him before the All-Star game.
I was going to say, when did they pull the plug on Merrifield? 609-403-0973. A couple text messages. Cole from LBI. If I was a Phillies fan, I'd be frustrated with Dombrowski and his roster construction plan. Bader needs to play center field. If Crawford is going to make a meaningful impact, he should have been called up earlier. See, Cole, I will say, I don't have a problem with Crawford not being here now if you want the extra year and that whole thing, because financially the Phillies are in a little bit of a kerfuffle coming up here.
Sure.
The Schwarber thing coming up, the Real Muto thing coming up, the Suarez thing coming up, they're all free agents this year. So you are trying to manage this, and it's not like they're 5 games behind the Mets with Crawford out. And if you're saying, look, we have this weapon that we can deploy on August 16th, it's something the Mets don't have. We're adding another player that we think will impact us positively that the Mets are not going to be able to do.
By the way, Whit Merrifield was released before last year's All-Star game, July 12th.
Right.
So
So they
he was-
gave up on him quick.
But what I'm saying is they gave it to him before the All-Star break. They wouldn't even let him survive the All-Star break. Kepler is still here, and it's August 4th.
Yeah, I don't get it. I have no
I mean, does he have blackmail on them?
I have no way to try to even take their side. I can't even play devil's advocate here. Mike, I still maintain the Phillies like having all positional players being light-skinned for whatever reason. Come on, dude. That's weak sauce there. If Bader works out, Crawford stays down. If you looked around, that's a poor.
That's very ignorant.
Yeah. Mike, I'm all up for calling the prospects, but I'm for calling them up early in their career so you get the bumps and bruises over the immaturity over with quickly. Calling up Crawford in August in a pennant race is a risky play. Yeah, I'm all for letting the young guys play, but in this situation, I do understand why they're doing it. I don't love it. I mean, I hate the whole thing of, hey, you just call them up when they're ready to go, but you are in a spot where you have to be cognizant of what you're spending, and that's sad, but you have to. You have to keep that in mind. And I think if the Phillies were so devoid in center field, which they've been, but it was costing them in the standings, they would do something.
Yeah,
They would do something.
Again, I don't mind them not calling up Crawford because of the whole dynamics when it comes to the extra year of control and all that stuff. It just gets back to, for fans don't even care about Crawford anymore. They're so incensed with Kepler. And, when Rob Thompson got that question on Friday when he was told, hey, Rob, a lot of the fans, they're tired of Kepler. They want to get rid of him. And it's like Rob wouldn't even acknowledge it.
What's he supposed to say?
No, but I mean, it's the
I
idea
hate
of-
those type of comments, though. It's like, what's a manager going to do, rip his guy?
Well, no, he's not going to rip his guy, but he could have said, well, there's nothing I can do about what the fans think. Or he could have said,
Well, he said the other day, Kepler, I think, has actually been hitting the ball like the exit velocity's been pretty good. We like it. He's got some
Yeah,
good
who
at-bats.
else has great exit velocity? O'Neal Cruz. No one traded for him.
I think people would take O'Neal Cruz over Kepler in a heartbeat. But what was the asking price?
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really factor in much at all here. The thing is, I hate when people say, Thompson, what is he going to say? Oh, Kepler's been terrible for us, but I keep putting him in my lineup for me. What do you want me to do? Like, he's not going to rip these guys. No
It'd be
manager's
funny if
ripping
you ripped
these
the
guys.
front office, actually.
I'm saying, I never expect the manager to come out and rip the guys, ever. At no point am I ever going to be like,
It would be funny if he got up there and he's like, well, who else do you want me to play? I asked Dave Dombrowski for a better player. He didn't give it to me.
I mean, outside of him saying, listen, I'm going with the hand I'm dealt. Like, guys, is Kepler a thing, a money thing? I don't think so, because Merrifield was making decent money. They made like $8 million last year.
And they just sent him out packing. So they're willing to eat money. They've shown that before.
Guys, I love Duran. He's going to be so fun to watch in October. You know what? I can't think of a better October feeling than seeing the closer come in the game like that, right? In terms of baseball, you're a baseball fan. The closer coming in the game in a playoff game. Awesome, right?
Such
Awesome.
an incredible moment.
All right.
He's got to make sure all the games he closes are at night.
Exactly. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Coming up, Vic Fangio asked about the cornerback battle that's going on right now. You'll hear, because he gives you his honest answers, you'll hear what he said about that battle that's unfolding right now at Eagles training camp. Plus, Cooper DeJean. Where could you see him on the Eagles defense? That and more. You'll hear from Vic Fangio next on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 3:28. Vic Fangio, the Eagles defensive coordinator. You'll hear the full presser coming up in just moments here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. The first Philadelphia Eagles official depth chart has been dropped for the game on Thursday night, which you can hear right here on 97.3 ESPN. He's going to talk a little bit about some of the battles that are unfolding. You'll hear what he had to say about the corner battle, where you might see Cooper DeJean play in the game. Well, I don't know that Cooper DeJean's going to play in the game, but where he's been kind of practicing. I would be surprised if you saw a lot of the high-profile starters, but I would think that you will see some of the battles. So right now, the first official depth chart, the one interesting name, I guess, to look at, you got Nolan Smith at edge, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, Jalix Hunt, Zach Bond, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is listed as the starter at the linebacker spot. Quinyon Mitchell, Adoree Jackson, and Kaylee Ringo are listed as the starters. There's a slash there. Cooper DeJean as the nickel. Reed Blankenship and then Sidney Brown and Makuba are both listed as first team in that spot there. So that's your defense. On the offensive side of the ball, nothing crazy. Brown, Mailata, Dickerson, Juergens, Tyler Steen, Lane Johnson, Dallas Goedert, Dotson, Smith, Barkley, Ben Van Sumeren is listed as the fullback, as a starter, and Jalen Hurts. And there you go. But what did Vic Fangio say about some of these battles that are emerging? Here is the Eagles defensive coordinator, who is live now on his Monday press conference.
Eli Ricks, noticed him past couple of days. Where is he in the conversation when he talked about that spot opposite Quinyon? Can he get involved with that?
Yeah, he can. And you're right. He has made some plays the last few days that were good plays. He needs to eliminate the negative ones too, and which I think he's working hard to do. And I see improvement from last year to this year.
You had said last week it was time for Adoree to show who he is as a player. How have those last few practices been for him?
Been good. I think Adoree's had a good camp. I think he's competing well. I think he's focused with a good mindset, and like where he's at right now.
Are there certain positions where you really need those preseason games to get a full eval on players?
Yeah. You need full speed action, to really tell. I mean, out in practice, nobody's getting tackled, so you don't know if you made the tackle or missed it. We're not finishing on the quarterback. We're trying to stay away from them. So we need games.
At that corner spot, there's only so much you can tell obviously out here, but what do you think about Keely's tackling ability and whatever you've seen so far with Adoree?
Yeah, I think Keely will be a good tackler. He is a good special teams player. I don't think tackling will be his issue at all.
As far as when you guys do have a preseason game, and I don't know what the starter situation is, but would a guy like Cooper DeJean be a guy you'd like to see in safety in a real game?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly.
So you've seen out of that mile.
Good stuff. He's having a good camp. He's progressing well. The ILB position has a lot on their plate, and he's shortened through that. But I think he's making good natural progress at all that.
Talk about the depth on the edge. How are guys like Mathis and Ogbo doing? It looked like Ogbo was pretty active yesterday and getting more comfortable.
Yeah, I think so too. He definitely I think's more been a defensive end most of his career. We asked them to drop a little bit here and play a little bit differently maybe than he's been accustomed to. So, he's fighting through that and learning that stuff, not just from a mental standpoint, but the technique part of it. But overall, he's doing good. Same thing with Mathis. I think he's a big, strong guy who's got some pop to him. And hopefully we can develop his all-around game to where he can be a player.
Because of the backs, with the safeties evaluating them in 11-on-11s, Reed Blankenship was saying you kind of let them go and problem solve on their own out there. Especially with the younger guys, what are you seeing from them, how they're handling that?
Well, from the younger guys. Makuba hadn't been practicing, so can't answer that. Sam's been doing a good job. I think Sydney's making real good progress. Who am I missing? Tristan, same thing, making good progress from last year. Tristan just got to eliminate his negative plays. You know, he has the ability to play the position. He just needs more consistency.
That corner spot, are you seeing any separation between Dory and Keeley right now? What would you like to get?
It's close. You know, I think both of them are having a good camp. But it's close. And been happy with both of them. And we'll see.
When it's close like that, Vic,
What's that?
You said in the spring the thing about reps are the burden of leadership. So if it's close between a young guy and an older guy, do you lean on the younger guy because he needs the reps to get better and there's upside?
Well, if in Adore's case, he's a veteran, but he's new here. And the things we're asking him to do are new to him. So that kind of cancels out that argument.
Hey, one more about Eli Ricks. He's such a narrow, skinny, lean guy. What have you seen about his physicality and him being pulled up, playing the run and doing the things that we're asking?
With Keeley?
No, Eli.
Eli. Yeah, I mean, he hadn't played enough yet to know, but, you know, he's going to get a bunch of snaps in the preseason, and hopefully that will show itself. But, you know, he's played good football in college. You bring up a good point. We'll see.
Getting back to the edge spot, you had said last time that nobody had stood out either positive or negatively just yet. Has that changed with Aziz or Uche yet?
Yeah, I think Josh has had some good practices here of late. He's flashed and had some really good plays. You know, the guys that are new, he just needs to eliminate the negative plays. And the negative plays aren't something that you guys may see or know. You know, it's just reacting and covering and the way we want to play the run. You know, the nuances of the defense. He's got to master those. But overall, he's had a good camp, and I see him getting better each and every day. And the same thing with Aziz.
When you say that Sydney has made progress, in what areas do you feel?
Who's that?
Sydney. When you say he's made progress, in what areas do you feel specifically that he's taken the biggest strides?
Overall, the entire game, again, just needs to put some polish on his operation. And, you know, just recognize things a little quicker. And I think that will take his game to the next level. What's that? Probably not.
What have been your impressions of Kevin Patullo in his new role?
What's that?
What have been your impressions of Kevin Patullo in his new role?
I don't know. I'm watching our 11 guys that are out there. I'm not evaluating Kevin.
As a rookie, what do you think of Ty Robinson trying to, as a rookie, how do you think he's picking things up? Where do you think his progress is?
I think he's picking things up at a good rookie's pace. I don't think that will be an issue for him in the long run. Just got to see him be a little bit more active and a little bit more decisive in his play, which, you know, with the more reps that he gets, I think that will come.
In the playoffs last year, you said you'd like to mix and match different linebacker pairs during training camp so they have the background with each other. What's the importance of that for the two linebackers to know how to train with each other?
Because if one goes down, you don't want that play in that game or that rest of that game to be the first time those two guys have played together. Same thing with safeties. You know, we eventually will get to that too. So, you know, you just don't want to always be ones, twos, threes. You want to mix guys up because you never know when somebody's going down and now they got to play next to somebody that they've never played next to before, even in practice. So you want that done in practice.
It seems like you've thrown on Jahad Campbell's plate the last few weeks. How do you gauge when a rookie is ready for that, and how do you think he's responding to it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's a harder question, you know, with the practice time and reps not being way up there, you know. So it's a fine line that we're trying to manage. We're probably a little guilty of putting too much on his plate, but, you know, time is coming. days are disappearing.
You see a scenario more where you play just such depth at that inside linebacker spot. When you have three on the field at the same time, obviously sort of an odd edge, but it's when you have three on the inside linebackers, you do it.
Playing inside linebacker?
Well, obviously, like some teams have a middle go insane. You ever see yourself going for that? Just where the three from?
Probably not.
Have you
Last
seen
week you
anybody?
said that you wanted-
What's that?
Last week you said you wanted to see more Cooper at safety. Have you gotten more to evaluate him there?
Yeah, and just like I thought, he can be a good safety. Just the other day we had a route that we struggled with last year in games to pick up, and he did it like he'd been a safety his whole life. So, yeah, he'll be a good safety if we need him there.
We've seen some inside linemen getting reps on the edge.
You've seen
some interior linemen getting reps on the edge. What do you like about that, and how many of you guys can do it?
how many can do it?
Yeah.
It won't be a steady diet of it. It's just when we're in a nickel package and we want to make it an odd look, one of them will kick out.
Campbell's at a few reps on the edge.
He's what?
He's got a few reps.
A few?
On the edge.
Have I seen anything? Yeah, he needs a lot of work at it. Again, that's going back to the previous question. That's adding thing to his plate right now. And in defense of him, he hadn't been coached up enough to be on the edge and play the way we want to play. So, part of that's him being overloaded. Part of that's us not getting him ready, which is just a product of lack of time and lack of reps.
Vic Fangio, everybody. There you go. The Eagles defensive coordinator. Always giving it to you straight, right? You think, I love it. Do you think Campbell having reps at the edge, what do you see from him? Yeah, he needs a lot of work at it. He's not really ready to go in that spot. He did talk about Andrew Makuba. Did say he didn't think he was going to play on Thursday, but thought that, he said, there's a play that we had problems with last year, and, he was able to do it right off the bat there. So some intriguing things about that. Adoree Jackson, a veteran, looks like, I don't know if you're listening to them, is there any separation between Jackson and Ringo right now? He said, it's close. I think both of them are having a good camp. I would imagine they both play on Thursday night. You can listen to the Eagles and the Bengals Thursday night right here on 97.3 ESPN. We have the Eagles and Bengals, the pre-season opener, and the coverage starts at 6:30 on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live. How valuable is the preseason for Vic Fangio's evaluation process? Got so many young guys out here. We'll talk to Jeff Mosher about that. And should the Eagles be concerned about their inexperience at safety? We talked to Adam Kaplan about that on Friday. He said, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe, he gave us a list of some names, Justin Simmons and a bunch of other names that we talked about. If you missed Friday's Football at 4, check that out on the Inside the Birds YouTube. And how much mixing and matching is too much during training camp? Or is it something that they're going to continue to do, moving Cooper DeJean from corner to safety and all that stuff? Who has the edge at the corner spot? Should Cooper DeJean be moved to safety, or is he too valuable at corner? Why do they keep trying to look at him over there? And some other questions regarding the defense as coordinator Vic Fangio spoke today. There was a little bit of the insight from Vic Fangio, who always tells the truth. All right, when we come back, more Sports Bash on the way, including today's unsportsmanlike moment of the day. We're going from worst to first. We'll explain next on the Sports Bash.
if you had to bet right now, worst to first this year in their division, who would it be?
The Titans. A lot of people are very impressed with Cam Ward.
As am I, but over the Texans? Texans might have the best defense in the league.
I don't foresee it, but if we had to pick a team, that's where I'm going.
I'm not mad at that at all.
That's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day. The team this morning talking about who's going from worst to first. It always happens in the NFL. They like the Titans. That's a team that you like, Josh. Do you like them to go worst to first, though? Who's your worst to first candidate in the NFL? Let us know. 609-403-0973. Your team options would be New England in the East, Cleveland in the North, Tennessee in the South, Vegas in the West, the Giants in the East, the Bears in the North, New Orleans in the South, and San Francisco in the West.
I mean, I would say that the Titans are one of the two best options because their division is not the greatest in the world. And number two, as I've told you before, and obviously, Michelle Smallman, either great minds think alike or she's just stealing ideas from us here on 97.3 ESPN, which we are more than happy to help her out with on the morning show on Sportsmanlike. You have a lot of talent on that team. Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard. It's not like they're a lousy team. But they had a horrible quarterback last year, Mr. Mayo himself, Will Levis, with a little Mason Rudolph coming in later in the year. If Cam Ward is half as good as we think he is, they have a chance, Mike. They have a chance to go from worst to first. Now, there's a strong argument to be made that another team that you named might be a better option, though. Just because I like the Titans, I have to admit that if the 49ers are healthy, if the 49ers are well put together, Mike, they could certainly be in the conversation for the NFC West division.
Yeah, I think you certainly have to look at the 49ers as possibly the best answer of this one because, quite frankly, I don't know that I can see New England winning that division. I can't see Cleveland winning that division. Tennessee, I'll give you just because the South is so meh, but I would be pretty shocked by that. Vegas is not winning the West.
Definitely not.
The Giants, I would be shocked if they won the East. The Bears, I've been, intrigued by the Bears, but a lot of reports is that Caleb Williams has looked terrible so far, but the team's got some talent. The new head coach intrigues me because he's an offensive-minded guy, but New Orleans, I think, their quarterback situation, it would be San Francisco. If I'm picking one team to go worst to first, and I don't think this is going to happen, but it would be San Francisco beating the Rams out in the NFC West. And I like the Rams a lot, but I have a hard time seeing any of the other 7 teams that I mentioned finishing in first place.
There's a couple of variables to go in here, and that is, people forget the worst of first usually happens in a division where there is not either a dominant team or in a division where it's weak. And for example, you mentioned the NFC West. It's the Rams. The Rams are the favorite. Seattle, they're interesting. Arizona, probably not. So it's not like there's a ton of competition in that division. The problem with the NFC North is, Mike, you can make an argument for all 4 of those teams to maybe win the division. I think that's the biggest negative against Chicago, and that is you can make an argument the other 3 teams have just as much, if not a better chance of winning the division.
Yeah, well, listen, again, I like the Bears' talent, but I think that division's too stacked. I think there's too many other teams, as you just kind of chronicled there, that would prevent them from going from worst to first. But you can make the same argument in the West that all those teams are kind of jumbled up. I don't think they're all great, but I think Seattle's pretty good. I think Arizona's pretty good. I think the Rams are good.
But, for example, I would say that just use it as an example, the Packers, the Lions, and the Vikings are probably all better than the Cardinals and the Seahawks, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, it's like different degrees of good. And back to the AFC South, to Michelle Smallman's point, look, outside of the Texans, I mean, that division, yikes. I mean, Jacksonville, who knows what the heck they're going to be. The Colts, they got a quarterback fiasco going on. I mean, is Shane Steichen going to survive this year out in Indianapolis? Who knows?
That part of it is because that division's so weak. That's why you would say Tennessee has a shot. I'm just not like you last. We had the conversation on Friday's show, I think it was,
Yes.
about Tennessee, and you're high on Cam Ward. Now, Michelle just said there's been a lot of good reports coming about how good he has looked out there. I just don't think they have a lot of weapons. Just don't think the team's all that good.
I think you're undervaluing what they can be because they were so bad last year, but a part of that was because of injuries and because they had the worst quarterback in football. I mean, was there a worse quarterback last year than Will Levis?
Probably not. No, but I think they had they had Pollard, they had Hopkins, they had a couple of weapons
Calvin
there.
Ridley.
So you had two good. Now I think they're older, and that's the problem. Is at first when they got those guys, you're thinking, these guys are pretty good. Then all of a sudden you're like, maybe they're getting a little older. The wide receivers hit it really quick.
That's true.
They go from really good to you're insignificant very quickly.
Of course, it doesn't help when your quarterback can't get you the ball either.
That is a big factor. Will Levis, definitely an issue last year.
It's the whole Jalen Hurts conversation. People are like, well, he has all this talent around him. It's like, yeah, but not every quarterback is getting the ball to that talent, i.e. Tennessee.
That's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Listen to Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings at 6 a.m. to 10 right here on 97.3 ESPN. This hour of the show has been brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing service, and installation for generations. Call 609-390-3907. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. When we come back, Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast joins us for today's Football at 4. Vic Fangio broke down a lot of storylines on the defensive side of the ball. What stood out to Mosher today as the Eagles get ready to take on the Bengals? Does it feel like the Eagles are back? Are you highly invested in the Eagles right now, or is it just like, the Super Bowl champions, I'm going to trust them with what they're doing over there? And are you all in on the Phillies? That's our poll question at Mike Gill Show on the Twitter X platform. Let me check out the numbers over there right now. 72% going one way, 15% going the other way, 11% going the third way. And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Jeff Mosher's here today from the Inside the Birds podcast. We'll get his take on everything that's happening as the Eagles get ready. Their first depth chart got dropped today. We'll get his thoughts on the key points from that very depth chart because there were two spots that have not been really resolved yet, according to the Eagles, and that is safety and corner. They're the two spots that Vic Fangio was asked the most about today, and we'll certainly dive into that on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, our Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast with Jeff Mosher. We'll take a little look at the defensive side of the ball as they get ready for the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, the Bengals and the Eagles, two teams that I would imagine both, the Eagles more so have Super Bowl aspirations than the Bengals, but the Bengals are a team that didn't even make the playoffs last year. But with Joe Burrow, a lot of people look at that team, and this is their both teams' first opportunity to make an impression on Thursday night. I don't know, in my mind, how many starters I see playing in this game, but with all these battles, all these roster battles, does Jalix Hunt play? Do they want to see him get a little bit of time on Thursday night? Do they want to see veteran players like Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari? In other words, did they have to perform in preseason games to show Vic Fangio that they're up for the challenge? Those are the things that I'm very intrigued by as we close in on the preseason opener on Thursday night, which you can listen to right here on 97.3 ESPN.
Who's the young guy that you want to see the most in the Eagles preseason game this Thursday?
Well, I mean, I think in terms of battles, it's Makuba, and you want to see whether or not he has the lead over Sidney Brown. I mean, obviously, you want to get a look at Jahad Campbell. I think he would probably not play in the game. I would imagine he's not going to be ready to play in the game.
I don't know if he's fully cleared yet. By the way, Makuba might not be cleared either.
I was to say, I would like to see Makuba, but I was just going to add, I don't think he's going to actually play in the game either. That's what Vic Fangio said today. He said he didn't think he would play on Thursday night. So you're probably not going to see that battle unfold on the field.
I thought you were going to say Mac McWilliams because he's been kind of pegged as the primary backup nickel behind Cooper DeJean.
And he's kind of the guy that I kind of said to keep an eye on since he got drafted in the fourth round was, hey, that's a guy that I think can be a factor this year that people, maybe aren't thinking about.
Fangio has said that if they are strong at another position, he's more comfortable playing Cooper DeJean, quote unquote, out of position. So, for example, go ahead. I was going to say, if Mac McWilliams can prove he can play that job, you actually might see DeJean more at safety.
Well, and I was going to say, let me, think about this, is if I'm Vic Fangio, and I don't think this is going to happen, but do I want to see Cooper DeJean play safety in a real live game? Do I want him out there in a preseason game? Well, probably not. I don't want him playing in a preseason game, I would imagine. But that being said, I think if I'm going to put him out there and play safety, I would want to kind of get a little look at him playing safety against live bullets out there. I want to see what you look like, what's your reaction like. Because one of the things he talked about was how Andrew Makuba, there's some plays that that ran last year that our guy couldn't. I'll have to bring up the exact quote there that he brought up, but it was in terms of.
He was talking about the guy's instinct. That there are things that DeJean instinctively just recognizes that other guys last year were not as quick to basically do so.
Yeah, he's like, last year we had that same play happen, and he was able to do it. Other guys that we had last year could not get that done. So he's saying this guy does have the instincts to get that done, and that obviously is something. Here's the if you're watching on the X platform at Mike Gill Show or on the YouTube channel, there is a look at the Eagles. This is the Eagles depth chart, and we're showing you the defensive depth chart right now. So those of you watching on YouTube and on X, you can actually see the depth chart that was given to us by the Eagles today. Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Maro Ojomo, and Jalix Hunt are the starters on the front. Azeez Ojulari, the backup there. And then Thomas Booker, Ty Robinson are the backups there with Byron Young, with Josh Uche behind Jalix Hunt. The linebacker spot, they've got Bond as the starter, Campbell as the backup, Trotter as the starter, Smile Mondon as the backup. Then Mitchell, backed up by Ricks. Adoree Jackson and Kaylee Ringo as the starters. No one as the second team. They're both listed as first-teamers. Cooper DeJean and Mac McWilliams as the backup. Reed Blankenship with Tristan McCullum as the backup. And then Sidney Brown with Andrew Makuba as the backup. That's what the depth chart shows on the defensive side of the ball. So the one thing that stands out about the defense is right now, and look, these depth charts are put out by, like, the interns. But I think there is a little bit here that they have not decided who's the starter between Jackson and Ringo yet. They have not decided who the starter is between Brown and Makuba yet. But I think every other spot plays out. I don't think Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, obviously, Jordan Davis, Mario Ojomo, it looks like he has run away with that spot. Jalix Hunt, Zach Bond. The Campbell one's interesting because they have him kind of behind Zach Bond. Can he overtake Jeremiah Trotter? That will be something that we'll have to keep an eye on.
And don't forget about the fact that, Fangio has said in the past that he doesn't care if you're a veteran or a young guy. He's going to play the best player. And so, this is a put up or shut up time for some of these guys like Jackson, like Ringo, and others, because guess what? You're going to go into the year, someone's got to play a second corner spot. Someone's going to be the guy, and no Slay, no Rodgers are walking through that door.
All right, Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast joins the conversation. The Eagles' first depth chart is out. And, we don't make a whole heck of a lot of these depth charts, Jeff Mosher, obviously. But there are some interesting things that can tell a story because Vic Fangio did speak on some of this stuff today. And obviously, if you look at the depth chart, you see Adoree Jackson and Kaylee Ringo, both of them. And that is a battle that I guess we might see Thursday night kind of unfold, you think?
Yeah, Mike, I think you got to. I think you have to expect, based on what Vic said at his press conference and just in general, that you got to see some of these guys vying for starting spots. I know Nick Sirianni doesn't typically play starters. Right now, he doesn't know who certain starters are. So that's why he's got to go out and see them.
Right, obviously. So, if I was to say who has the edge in the corner battle, Jackson or Ringo, listening to Vic Fangio today, Jeff, he said, well, they're both doing pretty good. Like, he didn't really sometimes he's a true serum guy. He didn't seem to give anything, didn't play his hand there, right?
Definitely not. And I don't think he's being coy. I think he's given Adoree Jackson and he has given Kaylee Ringo both opportunities with the first team all throughout camp. I mean, it's not, I don't know if it's 50-50, but some days it's been Jackson a couple of days in a row. Then they'll go back to Ringo for a few. So it's a true battle. And he said he likes what he sees from both. I think he made reference to both having just to eliminate negative plays. But the big thing is he's always talked about practices not having enough reps to get enough evaluation, even on a day like today where it was almost 2 hours. And I think that's why he needs to use these preseason games to just continue to get more reps to evaluate these guys.
Jeff, the other spot's a safety spot there I want to get your take on because for two reasons. One, they're both listed as the starters. He did talk specifically about Sidney Brown saying, yeah, he's doing good. We just need to see some more polish in that spot. He also said Drew Makuba probably not available on Thursday. So how does Makuba's availability maybe play into this safety spot for you?
Well, I mean, eventually Drew will get back out there. It doesn't sound like the injury is that serious that he's going to be out that much longer. He is missing some valuable reps, but at the same time, I would say, it'll give him an opportunity to look at Sidney Brown more. It'll give him an opportunity to look at Cooper DeJean at safety. He's been playing safety and base. I'm sure there will be a couple of opportunities from the Bengals standpoint, depending on how they deploy their personnel to see Cooper DeJean play safety and base and continue to get an evaluation of him on that.
Jeff, I want to get some thoughts on just a general thought here about how valuable is the preseason to Vic Fangio and this evaluation process. So many young defenders are competing for jobs. So is this preseason more valuable than maybe the previous preseasons have been to this team?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. This is more valuable because you have more competition at spots. Last year, for example, on offense, the only guy who played in the first preseason game who was considered a starter was Mekhi Becton because he had just become kind of the starter as Steen got hurt shortly before the first preseason game and Becton got in there and he needed the reps. So if you need the reps, you got to play. And that's why it becomes more important for Vic now this year as opposed to probably past years and other places where he knew what he had more.
Jeff, let's get to, should the Eagles be concerned? We talked about this Friday with Adam. I wanted to get your take on this. We just talked about the safety spot. You think they're concerned about the inexperience at that spot, or is this the way to go with these two guys? Because Adam gave us a list of some safeties. They all have some experience that, Justin Simmons is still out there. Do you think that will be a murmur throughout preseason, or they okay?
No, I think it's fair. It's a fair question. I mean, obviously you're seeing Cooper DeJean there for a reason, right? Also because A, he's talented enough to play the position, but B, he's in year 2 of this defense and a high pick. And they don't have to do that. They're doing it because there's really an unsettled decision here next to Cooper. Next to Reed Blankenship. So I think inexperience is fair to bring up, but I don't know that they're going to be rushing to sign somebody real quick. I mean, in order to figure out if inexperience is an issue, they have to be able to see Brown, Makuba, and whoever, Andre Sam, guys there for more than 2 weeks of camp.
All right, Moshe, a couple other things on this, obviously, secondary battle here. What are you making of the way he's talking about DeJean at safety? Do you think that's a role that he legitimately could have this year in some capacity? What is your take on that whole, because is he too valuable in the spot that he's at?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to move him out of slot corner, nickel, as Vic calls it, unless they need to, unless they have a really good nickel and then somebody gets hurt at safety. Obviously Mac McWilliams is injured right now, but he was doing okay. I don't think they see him as a first team starting, nickel right away, maybe a dime corner. So I think Cooper DeJean is going to see most of his time at nickel, but if you have the opportunity to get a really good player, versatile player at safety in other deployments, like in base defense, then yeah, they're going to take a look there. But I don't see a position switch permanent this year coming up for Cooper DeJean. He's just too valuable and too good, and a lot of what they do is out of the nickel package anyway.
A lot of questions about Eli Ricks here. Intrigued by his possibility. Can he morph himself into that cornerback battle with Adoree and Kaylee Ringo?
I don't know if he can do it between now and the start of the season, but I think I know he's impressing Vic Fangio. He's making some plays. He's got a really good chance to make the 53. I mean, he was on it last year, and they need backup outside corner. He can play it. He deserves what he's getting so far. I think he'd have to fall on his face over the next few weeks to really fall out of contention. Now, could he usurp those two? Usually that happens if there's like an injury, right? And then he gets forced into a starting spot and plays really well. I think it would probably take something like that. I don't know if he's going to even have the opportunity to prove that he's just a better overall corner than Adoree Jackson or Kelly Ringo. And I'm not sure that he is. I just think that it's going to be those two until it's not.
Jahad Campbell's listed as a backup to Zach Bond, but do you anticipate, right now Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is the starter there, but is Campbell in battle with Trotter? How do you read that?
Absolutely. And this is a decision that Vic Fangio is going to have to make about, sort of expertise and know-how or just raw athleticism. Not that Jahad Campbell doesn't know how to play the position. He played it last 2 years at Alabama, but Trotter is the more instinctive player, the more natural stack linebacker. Campbell is just like a man on fire when he's out there. He makes some plays, but he, makes mistakes at 100 miles per hour, and he's still learning the position. He's got a lot on his plate because he's also trying to learn some edge rusher. And I think, like we've been saying, Vic's got to see how this all looks against a different team in a preseason form, like a game type format, to see how that's working out for Jahad Campbell.
We got a couple Mosher mailbag questions on the Monday that we had out there earlier, so let's throw some of them up and one of them has to do with Campbell, which is why I kind of waited for that particular spot to throw this up at you here. But how important is it for Jahad Campbell and Cooper DeJean to show this type of versatility? In other words, is there another layer to Vic Fangio's system that maybe we didn't get a chance to see last year?
It's a good timely question. I'm writing a story for phillyvoice.com. It'll be up either today, probably today. Just about Vic's sort of intuition, right? And it is Vic who had this sense that Zach Bond could play inside linebacker. I am not saying, because we've already discussed this many times, Vic did not realize he was going to be an all-pro. Vic didn't see that coming, but he did feel like Zach Bond could make that transition, and Zach Bond made it well. So when Vic tells you that he thinks that Cooper DeJean can play some safety pretty well, which he said, and when he tells you that Jahad Campbell can do inside linebacker and edge rusher, he probably has a leg to stand on in saying it. Now, it doesn't mean these guys are all going to be Zach Bonds and all pros and, who knows. But the point is, Vic's been doing this a long time, so he's got a pretty good idea of what guys can and can't do based on the tape that he sees of them, based on how he's coaching and his staff will coach them. And he's not always going to be right, but he's got a leg to stand on.
All right, Chris in Mays Landing. Will Ty Robinson need more time to develop before he sees significant reps? Because he was asked about Ty Robinson today. We just played the presser at 3:30, so a lot of questions revolving around that. And he did get asked about Ty Robinson, and people were excited about him.
Yeah, and I understand, though. Vic is a truth serum kind of guy, and he said today that Robinson is picking things up at a normal rookie pace. And he said something about just got to see him be more active and more decisive. So that to me signals that, Ty Robinson's a rookie learning how to play as a rookie. Plus, it's got to be frustrating going up against a really, really good offensive line that he's going up against. So to me, that's Vic's way of saying, I've got to see this guy have a little bit better of a plan, start to acclimate better, make some plays, have it come naturally to him. And that might take a little bit of time. So right now, when you're talking about your interior defensive linemen who are going to see snaps when the actual season starts, you're talking about Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ajomo, maybe even Thomas Booker ahead of Ty Robinson to start the year.
All right. How about linebackers? Smile Mondin Jr., has he quietly emerged as a sleeper contributor in camp? That's from Bill in Middle Township. Right now, Jeremiah Trotter is listed as the starter, but he did talk about Smile Mondin as well today.
Yeah, and I don't know. You would have to define sleeper here. Like, could he start? Probably not. But could he play a little bit? Will he be an impact special teamer? Yeah, definitely. I think he's got a lot of athleticism. I think he's actually a stronger player than his body frame might suggest because he's lighter. But he's an aggressive player. I've liked what I've seen. I always thought he was going to make the 53 anyway because he's a draft pick, went to Georgia, has a good pedigree, and probably will be one of the top guys off the bench if they have injuries until Nakobe Dean gets back. So I wouldn't quite call that a sleeper. I would just say you're getting what you expected and you're happy with it.
All right, let's get I'm trying to get the guy's name typed in here, but I didn't have a chance to type it in. Jeff, are we underrating what Uche could bring to this defense? That was from Steve in Summers Point.
So this is a chicken or egg conversation. Josh Uche is having a very good camp, and this guy hasn't done anything in like the last 3 years. I wouldn't say very good camp. He's having a good camp. He's flashing, right? You're seeing something there. Is it a good thing for the Eagles pass rush that that's like the dominant storyline of the edge rushers, or it's a good thing for Josh Uche, but what does that say about the Eagles pass rush? Because we're not, I don't want to be cruel, but it feels like Azeez Ojulari has been kind of invisible after the first day or two of camp. I watched Jalix Hunt today, and one-on-ones are certainly no measurement of anything really, but Jordan Mailata just stonewalled him twice on consecutive rushes in the one-on-one. So that just might, again, you're going up against a great left tackle, but you could see Jalix sort of like getting confounded by it. Haven't seen much. Obviously, Nolan Smith's been out for a little bit. So I'm not underrating what Josh Uche can bring. I think he's, got enough of a resume that he was pretty, I don't want to say definite to make the team, but, if they're going to go with a 4-man rotation, he'd be part of it. And maybe he rediscovers something here under Vic Fangio. But I think the question is, what is the state of the Eagles edge rush right now?
Fair enough. And by the way, Uche is listed as a backup on one edge, and Ojulari is listed as the backup on the other edge. How about this edge? I don't know how to say this gentleman's name, and I'm not going to try, but can Ogbo Okawakawo be a legitimate rotational edge? That's from Ken in Lower.
Just call him Big O. Could he?
Like Alberto, not Alberto, Har.
No, not Alberto. could he be a legitimate rotational edge? Yeah. I mean, he's got some chops. He's played in the league before. He's an undersized guy. He's fast. You can tell he's fast around the edges. I'm not quite sure that you're going to have him in there on base downs a whole lot. But the question is, can he be a rotational edge? And I guess that means can he play in sub packages? Let's just say I'm intrigued to see his snaps in the preseason and how this develops over the next week or two.
All right. Of course, the game is Thursday night. You can listen on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, the Eagles trying to defend that championship. As A.J. Brown said today, Lombardi is not loyal to anybody. So they are trying to bring Lombardi back. Good stuff from A.J. Brown. The Inside the Birds guys got plenty of good stuff, and Jeff Mosher has more over at phillyvoice.com. Check out the Inside the Birds podcast on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, Football at 4 every day right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Jeff Mosher, we'll talk to you, pal.
All right, take care.
All right, there's Moshe here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, and he'll be back on Wednesday's show for another edition of Football at 4 on the Sports Bash. I am Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. When we come back, it's another edition of Nick's Nuggets. We'll see what caught Earnshaw's eyes this weekend as the Phillies take 2 out of 3 against the Detroit Tigers. You know, the Tigers right now have the best record in the American League, and the Phillies beat them 2 out of 3. What do we take from that? And don't forget, Wednesday, the guys are going to be live at Yuri's in Wildwood. 2 to 6, Phillies and the Orioles closing out that 3-game set tonight. Phillies take on the O's in Game 1 of their 3-game set. We gave you the lineup a little earlier today. When we come back, it is another edition of Nick's Nuggets, and it's next right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 429 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. Give a follow, watch the show, be a part of the show. And, of course, it's time for today's Nuggets, Nick's Nuggets. They're brought to you by the Hub Gear that works as hard as you do. Nick Earnshaw is host of the Shift podcast. And, of course, on weekends, you can hear him producing The Locker Room with Billy Schweim right here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget Schweim and the crew. They're going to be at the Margate Memorials tonight. You can listen starting at 6 right here on 97.3 ESPN till about 8 o'clock. They're a quick one there, Earnshaw. The Memorials are quick. Bang, bang. 3 events and out. They get you in and out on those Margate Memorials. And we'll have all the coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN. So let's bring in Nick Earnshaw for tonight's edition of Nick's Nuggets here on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. What's up, man?
What's going on, Mike? Yeah, those Memorials, Billy's going to be out there tonight. He's going to be calling it. He's going to be yelling into the microphone. I mean, that's usually how it goes. We love a Schweiner out there on site at the Memorials. He does a great job with the Beach Patrol Report. Got to give him credit where credit's due.
Oh, those things get packed, man. There'll be a big crowd over there in Margate. It's over on Decatur by Lucy the Elephant for the people who want to go live. If you can't make it, can't find a parking spot, we got the coverage starting at 6 on 97.3 ESPN.
Well, I'll tell you what, we had a fun weekend and a fun weekend of Phillies baseball. Overall, listen, you take 2 out of 3 from the Tigers, you'll take it. You'll take it. Offense wasn't great all weekend, but hey, a win's a win, a W's a W. So I had to go back, and we got to look at your poll question for today. And this one's a fun one because, man, if you're not buying into the Phillies at this point, Nugget number 1, man, I don't know if you can buy into the Phillies. I mean, I think you have to. I think you have to be all in on the Phillies. And the question is, as the calendar flips to August, are you all in on the Phillies? I chose the 72%ers. Absolutely, I'm buying into the Phillies. I think you have to. They made the moves at the deadline to get better. They got a closer. You needed a closer. They got another bat and Bader. Probably not the bat everyone wanted, but this is a team that's good enough. And if their bats show up, there's no reason this team should make a deep playoff run. So I think with this core, this team, the amount of money the Phillies have spent on top players such as Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Schwarber, all the guys, Castellanos, the pitching staff as well, of how good that's been, I think you have to be all in on this Phillies team. It's World Series or bust. There's no other answer here. I know the Eagles are starting up. Listen, they just won a Super Bowl. You got to be all in on the Phillies. You need the baseball team to have a parade down Broad Street. You got to be all in. Have to be, Mike.
Well, I think you could be all in, absolutely, because there's no favorite. I talked about this the other day, the fact that there is no favorite in the major leagues right now. Like, you played the best team in the American League and won 2 out of 3 this weekend. Did you watch that Tigers team and say, now, it was up 5-0 on Friday night. They had to come from behind to win that game. They got carved up by Skubal on Saturday, and then yesterday they shut the Tigers out. But that's the best team in the American League. The problem is, I think there are 6 teams in the National League that are probably better than the Tigers. The Mets, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Cubs, the Brewers. I think those 5 teams are all probably better than the Tigers are. So all 5 teams in the National League playoff race will probably be better than the team that is in the American League. But that's why you got to go all in, because if you can find a way to get through this loaded National League field, you will probably be the best team standing by the time you get to the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for you not to be all in on this team. I mean, it's a World Series or bust. They spent plenty of money. They made plenty of trades. They have the pitching to do it. They now have a back-end closer. I know the bullpen's still going to be shaky, but if you look at the Tigers, they had the 4th highest bullpen ERA for teams above 500 heading into the trade deadline. So, I mean, they're a team that struggles with bullpen. There's a lot of teams that are struggling with their bullpen. So, listen, it comes down to the bats for the most part. If they all go cold again, it's the same story every single year. So, this team's good enough. They have the talent. They can make a run. If they get hot, I mean, there's no stopping this team. Have they been okay over the past couple of months? Sure. But if this team can get hot and their top players, like Dombrowski has talked about, get going and they hit the baseball, the top paying guys, what they're paying a lot of money for, if they hit the baseball and their pitchers do what they've been doing all season, there's no reason this team shouldn't go deep in the postseason. There's just no reason.
This is a similar conversation that you and I would have last year, and you're telling me, I said, yeah, they can win the World Series. The Phillies can win the World Series. Are they the favorite? No, they are not.
No, they're
they are
second,
not the favorite to win the World Series. They
They're
are
second.
second by the Vegas odds, yes. But I think so many people, the letdown, the previous letdowns is what so many sports fans get hung up on. 2022, you went and took me on this ride, and then we lost. 2023, you brought me on another ride, and then you disappointed me. 2024, the ride couldn't even get off the ground before you disappointed me. So it's hard for people to say, I think you're the favorite, I think you're going to win. But I have always contended the best Philly sports runs have been teams where you least expected it, where you didn't think they were going to win, where they weren't the favorite. No Philly team has won the title when they've been the favorite to do so. It's always, the underdogs. No one likes us. We don't care. The 2022 Phillies, fire the manager. They go on a run. You never expected that team to make the World Series. The 93 Phillies, you never expected that team to be a World Series team. The 01 Sixers, you never expected that team to go to the NBA Finals. Now, some of these teams didn't win, but the best Philly sports memories you have all came when you didn't expect it. That's why you got to be all in.
Yeah, and you got to enjoy the ride. Like this year, I'm not pounding my chest saying they're going to win. They're going to win the World Series. I'm not going that far this year, because we've seen it before. It's the same old song and dance. But should they? Is this team good enough? Yes. I'm on your side this season. I'm like, yes, they are good enough. I got to see it. If they all fall apart, nobody can hit all of a sudden in the postseason. They all go cold in the NLDS or the NLCS. They get that far. It's just the same thing. It's over and over again. It's going to be Groundhog Day again. So, but there's no reason. This team is good enough to win. If you're a fan, you should buy it. If you're a fan of this team, Red October is awesome. You have Joan Duran at the back end, who I'll get to at nugget number 2. But you as a fan should enjoy the ride. This is a good team. It's a good core. It feels like it might be the last real hurrah to go for it and win a World Series this year, because guys are getting older, contracts are expiring. You got to be all in, especially because guys could be leaving, guys could be on the way out the door. This core's window is shrinking. If you're a fan, you must be all the way in. All the way in.
I would agree. And by the way, the poll question is up at Mike Gill Show. You can text in 609-403-0973. Are you all in on the Phillies right now? 73%, absolutely. 15% said no, they're not buying in. And 11% said E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles.
There you go. That was a weak one. I'm not going to lie. You could get a little more energy out of there, Mike. A little more energy. Like when we were going out of Yankee Stadium, I'll tell you, there was a lot of energy there with the E-A-G-L-E-S. I can't even spell. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. There was a lot going out of that Yankee Stadium with those chants.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not there yet. The Eagles are on the back burner. That's why.
Now, are you pro-chant at an away stadium? I'm not asking CBP. At an away stadium, I feel like that's a Philadelphia unison chant. It's not necessarily has to be about the Phillies. It's like Philadelphia, in my estimation. I'm all in for the Eagles chant.
I am out on the Eagles chant at a Phillies game. This is the Phillies. I don't want any focus on the Phillies. Too many times you got a good Phillies team.
Phillies.
The 2-0 game yesterday, you hear a Phillies chant. An Eagles chant. You're in a pennant race here.
Yeah, but I feel like it just represents Philadelphia. It's like an overarching chant, it's not just about the Eagles. It's an overarching theme. Say, you're from Philly. Like you're waiting in line at Walt Disney World or something, right? You get a chant going. I think that's we're from Philadelphia. There you go. I think like it's just to make it known that Philadelphia is here. The fans are here of Philadelphia. It's not a slight on the Phillies. I'm in on the Eagles chant at an away stadium for sure. CBP, I can understand at times.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the fans being at Citizens Bank Park, you realize everybody is there.
Yes.
You're saying on a vacation somewhere and you see a random dude walking with an Eagles shirt, you might do it and then whatever. Go Birds, you see something like that. But
even
you're
a
at a
Phillies shirt,
game,
though. Even a Phillies or a Sixers shirt. You say the Go Birds or you chant the Eagles. And an away stadium, like the Yankee Stadium the other week. That's what happened.
Now I'm out on that.
I'm in. I'm all in on that one. All right. Figured I'd ask. All right. Nugget number 2. Let's have some fun. We're talking about postseason. We're talking about the Phillies making a run last night. How about Duran? ESPN even skipped the commercial. They even played the whole thing. and showed the entire entrance, the Undertaker bells, the entire song, the fans with the phones, and all of that good stuff going on. And, Matt Gelb put out a great article about the trade of the entrance, which was fantastic, and how they basically that was included in the trade for the most part, and that the Twins made the VP of communications of the Twins. They made the decision to send it over to the Phillies for what they have for the good of baseball fans around. I'll tell you what, he was electric last night, and Red October comes around, Mike, there's going to be nothing like that entrance at Citizens Bank Park.
No, that one's definitely a winner, and I talked about this yesterday. I said if you bought a ticket to the Phillies game, let's say you got it's a nosebleed ticket at CBP on SeatGeek or StubHub or any of these ticket outlets or Ticketmaster, wherever you're buying your ticket.
Yeah.
What are you paying for a nosebleeder?
I think it's around probably like between 20 and 30.
Right, so let's say you get a $30 ticket, right? Would you be willing to pay a extra $15 attraction fee?
We talked about this.
Would you be willing to pay a $15 attraction fee? Because I contend now, if you pay for a ticket to go to a Phillies game and this guy doesn't pitch, you're now disappointed.
Yeah, but you get the refund too. So if he doesn't pitch,
no, this is the way it works. The ticket costs $30.
Okay.
If Duran gets into the game and they win, they charge you an extra $15 for that attraction.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair at all. I think you pay enough.
You're telling me you're at that game last night. It's 2-0, and Johan Duran comes in that game. You're telling me you would be disappointed if your car got docked another $15?
I'd be a little mad. I paid the ticket to see the entire team, not just Duran in the entrance. I got a chance of seeing it.
Yeah, but here's the
not
thing.
A guarantee.
Here's the thing. They're charging you the same ticket price, and they got a new attraction. That attraction wasn't there.
Oh, no. See, now I think, I think they even said it. I'll read the quote from Matt Gelb's article, and this is from the VP of Communications of the Twins. We collectively thought this is for the greater good of baseball fans. This is a fun atmosphere. All baseball fans should get to see it and experience it. So you shouldn't be upcharging your tickets just because this is part of the trade. This is part of the deal. He comes with it. Doesn't mean you got to upcharge for the entrance. That's crazy talk, Mike. I'm out on that. No upcharge.
Hey, a smart business decision is, hey, I got a new attraction. You got to pay more money for this attraction now, because if you go to that game and you don't see that attraction, you left disappointed.
I'll tell you what, I would feel bad for the ticket services people. That would be a lot of work. You got to do all the refunds. If he doesn't come in, they don't win, etc.
You don't have to do refunds. You charge $15 extra if he gets into the game and they win.
What, after you bought the ticket?
It's an asterisk.
Oh,
$15 will be applied if Johan
Oh,
Duran comes into the game.
I'm curious what the text board thinks of that. Text it 609-403-0973 because I don't think that's much. You would add like $2 to the ticket. Or 15's crazy. Crazy talk. This is the Twins sent this. You're trying to get every dollar you can out of the fans here. I say no. I say no here, Mike. You're thinking like an owner, and I'm not liking it right now. I don't like it. So I'm out on it. I'm out on adding the $15. You want to put $2 in there? Fine. Sure. You get the attraction, etc. But this, according to the Twins, this is for the greater good of baseball.
It is for the greater good.
No extra money.
The greater good is that they gave you the music and the graphics.
Comes
That's
along
the
with
greater
it.
good, is you can have it now. But the greater good to the Phillies is I now have an attraction that I didn't have. That's like if you went to an amusement park that added a roller coaster and they said, you know what, the roller coaster's free. You can use the roller coaster. We just added it to our thing. No, they're going to charge you the most tickets you can possibly get because it's a new attraction. And you're going to say, everybody wants to go see this roller coaster. Everybody wants to see this roller coaster.
You could add $2. $2 to the ticket, $3, a couple more bucks. It's not worth
You're the only person so far that I have really asked that said if he got into the game, that he got into the game and they won, that you would be satisfied enough that if they charge you an extra $15, you'd be like, I don't really even care. I saw the entrance. I saw a win. Add the $15 to my thing.
That's an excuse for a money grab, in my opinion. Hey, listen, it's smart. I'm not saying it's not a dumb idea. If you're an owner and you look at it from a business perspective, not a stupid idea to make a couple extra bucks. You got to pay for all these contracts. I understand. But
Absolutely,
from the
guess what?
perspective, it's a money grab.
Of course, it's a money grab. All business decisions are money grabs. I'm trying to find ways.
An unnecessary one, though. It's an unnecessary one.
Well, if I'm a fan, I'm saying no. I don't want you to charge me $15 extra if this. But I'm saying if you're a fan, you would left satisfied. You go to a Phillies game now, and he does not get into the game. You're disappointed.
You're a little disappointed, but I feel like that'll wear off. I feel like it'll be a fad because now we'll get used to it after a while.
Of course,
it's
you're disappointed. You leave disappointed.
All right.
No, it's not a fad because some people only go to one game. Well, not to the guy who only goes to one game. And if he goes to that one game and it's a day game, you don't get to see it. If it's an afternoon game, right, you're not getting to see it. And if you only go to one game and you don't get to see that, you're going to say, oh, man, the game I went to, I didn't get to see.
That's part of the experience, though. Like, I don't think you should have to pay for that extra. It came with the trade. It comes with the player. It came with the package. You shouldn't have to pay more money for it. Let
me just tell you, Earnshaw, I don't want you running my business. That's all.
That's why I'm not running any business right now. I'm not running the business. I'm not going to treat the fans that way. So I'm not owning a team. I'm not owning a team right now. I wouldn't charge the fans for the entrance. It's great. It's awesome, but I can't do it. I can't do it to them. Can't do it, Mike.
Too bad.
You'll make a couple extra more bucks than I will, I guess.
My team will be you'll be the Pirates and I'll be the Phillies.
I'll figure it out with the money I do have. Trust me on that. I will figure it out.
I like James in Delaware says, do you think they would give money back every time Bryce Harper misses a game? Here's the difference, James.
Ooh.
Here's the thing.
That's a good
when
point.
you go on the secondary market and Bryce Harper's not playing, people are selling their tickets probably at a discount to get rid of them because they're saying the attraction's not there. You can buy my ticket at a cheaper rate.
Yeah, but it's a closer. It's a little different, I feel like, because I don't know. I feel like it's too much of a money grab. It's an unnecessary money grab for the fan that's paying already a ton of money to go there. You got this in the trade. It came with you. I don't think you need to charge more.
All right, we got a lot of texts on this. Number one, Mike, what if Durantula blows the lead? Do you get a refund? And I said,
what if they fall apart?
I said, if he gets into the game and they win. If he gets in the game and they lose, you don't get charged the $15. Only if he gets into the game. Only if he gets in the game and he saves it. He gets the save and they win.
I think that's unfair. I think it's unfair to the fan. Like, you're going there to try and see a W, and that should come along with. That should be included in the package. There's no upcharge for if they win and all this. I'm out on that.
Mike, you're telling me you're disappointed if you don't get to see Duran. What if Wheeler or Sanchez go a complete game? What if we put up 15 runs and don't need a closer? Then guess what? I'm not disappointed. I don't get charged the $15.
I don't think I should get charged $15 extra just to see Duran. He's part of the team. He's the same as everybody else, right? Like, this is one player on one team.
He's not the same as everybody else.
He's on the team. He's on a roster.
Does everybody else walk into the game with a tarantula crawling across the screen?
And it was sent for the good or betterment of the game. That's what it was for the fans and the experience.
All right. Did Harrison Bader get any stuff sent with him when he came over here?
No, but he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to.
You just said it. He's like everybody else. No, he's not like everybody else. Nobody else has an entrance. He has an entrance.
Yeah, he's got an entrance. I should have to pay more for it. He's one of the 26 guys in the clubhouse. He's got an entrance. I should have to pay more for it. What extra labor is there to pay? You'd have to pay for it. You traded for it. He came with the package of the trade. I should have to pay more.
When you go to a show and they provide, you're paying for the show. They've added to the show. They've improved the show, essentially.
Yeah, that's their job. It's their job. We expect to win. You expect to go to see a winning product on the field. You're already paying to go see the winning product. I don't need to pay more just because he has an extra entrance at for 30 seconds. I think it's unfair. It's unfair.
Actually, it was 2 minutes and 15 seconds from, I think
I'm
timed
exaggerating.
this out the other night.
Is it 2 minutes?
His entrance was longer than the inning.
That's great. Did you time it out? Did you get the stopwatch?
No, they timed it out on NBC Philadelphia the other night, the post-game show with Amy Fadul and Batalico. They said it took from him to walk out with the music and everything was 2 minutes and, say, 15 seconds. The entire inning took like 1 minute and 45 seconds or something like that.
It's insane. He was humming 103 last night. It was awesome. And the fact ESPN even skipped it, it's just such a great thing for the fans overall, I think, just to have a closer like that. You haven't had someone like this really since Brad Lidge.
Now, listen, I'm half kidding here, but my point is, as a fan and a business decision, this if you really wanted to squeeze the fans, you would say, listen, you're telling me, though, every single person I've talked to, I said, if you go to a Phillies game now and he doesn't pitch and you don't get to see that, you're disappointed that you felt like you missed out on the when I went to the game last year, 2 years ago, I went to a Phillies-Pirates game in Pittsburgh. And when Bednar came in the game, he actually had a pretty cool entrance. And I said, that's got to stink if you go to a game and you don't get to see that. It's definitely a reason why you would want to go see the Phillies is if you go to that game and you don't get to see that, you're like, oh, man, I really wanted to see the entrance. Like, you want to be in that crowd to feel it.
That's still, like you said, you're squeezing the fans if you upcharge $15 for it. That's all.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make money.
I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair to the fans. They already pay enough.
Listen, I would say like this. Any entertainment situation, when you add new entertainment, you charge more money for the new entertainment. You don't keep the same price.
They should have signed a closer in the offseason anyway. So, I mean, you really just, you're filling in a blank here, to be honest. And you got a little extra pizzazz with it. How about that?
All right, well.
Agree to disagree, Mike. Listen, we only got 2 nuggets today. We'll talk about Embiid tomorrow because I'm a little nervous.
Oh, man.
I'm a little nervous.
I didn't want to talk about Embiid today. So
thank goodness. That's why we stuck on that.
Hey, Bob Cooney from NBC Sports Philadelphia joins me on the other side. Nuggets, thanks, man.
See you.
All right, more Nuggets tomorrow on the show. Bob Cooney from NBC Sports Philadelphia covers the Phillies. He'll join me next right here on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video streaming on the X platform and on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Bob Cooney live from Citizens Bank Park with an update on the Phils coming up. 5 o'clock, driving you home on a Sports Bash Monday. Yes, it is me, Mike Gill, with you out there. Phil's and Baltimore Orioles tonight. Now, the Orioles have got to be one of the more disappointing teams in all of baseball. This is a team, a lot of young talent, won the division, won a lot of games, and now they sit at 51-61. The Phillies take on the Orioles for 3 games at Citizens Bank Park starting tonight. We'll have all the action and reaction tomorrow right here on the Sports Bash. But before we get there, we're going to take a look at some of the Phillies' latest information, news, notes, and more. We'll catch up with Bob Cooney, who's now covering the Phillies for NBC Sports Philadelphia, and he is set to join me right now live from Citizens Bank Park with the Phillies getting ready to take on the Orioles tonight, as Bob Cooney set to join me here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. It'll be good to catch up with Bob Cooney, who's an old friend of the program who used to cover the 76ers, longtime Sixer beat guy. Now you can see him wandering around Citizens Bank Park and on your television on NBC Sports Philadelphia. As he joins us right now as the Phillies get ready to take on the Baltimore Orioles. A lot of questions around this team. Bob Cooney, what's up, buddy? How you been?
I'm doing good, Mike. How you doing, pal?
Always good to catch up with you, man. Doing awesome. And obviously, the last couple nights, you see the Phillies take on the Tigers. I want to first get the vibe at Citizens Bank Park. You've been around Philly for a lot of great events, but the last couple nights seeing Joan Duran come into the game's got to be up there.
It's pretty cool. And it's as cool as it is to watch the fans and watch the ballpark and the way it reacts when he's about to come into the game and when he does come into the game. Watching his teammates, his new teammates, get on the top step of the dugout, Mike, and just feel the electricity themselves, and looking around the ballpark at all the fans with their phones on and all of it. It's pretty cool talking to the players afterwards to see the excitement in their eyes and their voices after they see Duran come in and then do what he does on the mound also.
I'll tell you, I joked before, and I'm half kidding. I said I think the Phillies should add a $15 attraction fee whenever he enters the game. Because if you go to a game now and he doesn't enter, you feel like you got slighted.
You know, it's funny. Last night, and this is the God's honest truth, and I'm being way too honest here, but last night a buddy of mine texted me, and he said, would you keep Sanchez in the game? And I was like, yeah, I think I would. And because I looked at the scoreboard like an inning earlier and it said Kerkering was warming up. Not that I forgot about Duran, but it's kind of like it wasn't solid in my mind because, you know, following this team all year, you know how, not bad, but you know how different the last inning has been for them. And then I remembered that he was there and I said, oh no, I'm taking Sanchez out. And then sure enough, they bring him in and he throws, you know, consecutive 103-mile-an-hours. And it's just electric here, Mike, when he goes into the game.
So tell us about the difference, Bob, in this bullpen. I mean, obviously you're seeing this team over the last couple of weeks, you know, where they're trying to figure it out. They're mixing and matching. Then you had Kerkering, who, like, you know, seemingly didn't pitch for about a week. And then he comes back. They really just haven't had that ninth-inning guy. They do bring in one guy, and it's a really good one. But has that solidified this bullpen enough? Or do you think this bullpen will still look different when they get to October?
Well, there's different ways of looking at it. Like for here out until for the rest of the regular season, Mike, you're going to have Strom, you're going to have Kerkering as those like bridge guys to take it to Duran, right? Rob Thompson has said it over the last few days. That's what it's going to be. And then before them, you're talking about Tanner Banks and Romano and those types that they've been and Lazar. Those types. Now you have David Robertson down in the minors. They're looking for big things from his 40-year-old arm once he gets enough pitches in him to come back up. And then you're also talking about, you know, Alvarado's coming back, you know, in a couple of weeks, Mike. So what happens there? Yeah, he's not going to be eligible for the playoffs, but I just got done writing this in my pregame notes. Can you imagine if it's like the 8th inning and you go Alvarado and he's on and throwing 100, 102, and then you bring in Duran behind him? I mean, that's some sick stuff right there. But then you talk the playoffs, Mike, as you well know, there's some starters that are going to be going to the bullpen. So there's so many different things that are juggling around. I think what has to be ideal for this team is that Kerkering and Strom do their job in that 7th, 8th inning, do it well for the rest of the year, and then gets it to Duran more times than not. And then once the playoffs come, you're going to have to see how it all plays out.
All right, Bob Cooney, NBC Sports Philadelphia is at the ballpark. Phillies getting ready for the Baltimore Orioles. And, one of the things you wrote about when the trade was made, Bob, was platoon, word of the day. It seems like it's the word of the year for them. What do you make of the platoons that they have here? It looks like Bader's kind of platooning right now. Kepler, much to the dismay of many, is still part of a platoon. Rojas was the odd man out. Crawford's still not here. Is the platoon still the word post-trade?
Well, I mean, look at who's in left field tonight. It's Weston Wilson. So, I think it is. And Rob Thompson had said as much after the trade that, he feels really comfortable with Marsh and Bader, who are both very good fielders out in center field. And then, you look at left field and what are you going to do? Like Kepler, you have a Weston Wilson, Otto Kemp can get thrown out there also. So those are kind of the five guys that you're looking at in the left and center field positions. I will watch it play out certainly and see how it does. But, two fielding positions in the outfield that you're kind of probably going to platoon, I don't know if that sits well with everybody, and I'm a little skeptical of it. But like I said, I'll watch it play out.
I was going to say, you look at the end of the day, is a Max Kepler, Weston Wilson platoon better than what you had beforehand? I mean, it almost feels like you've regressed in that spot, even after adding Bader.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny, and I did this to my friends and I talk about this an awful lot, Mike. We are so into sports and trivia and stats and everything. And I brought up to one of my buddies who's a huge Phillies fan, I said, since the end of April, who's hitting 297 for the Phillies? And he threw out about 5 or 6 names, didn't get any of them right. Well, guess who it is? Brandon Marsh.
I was going to say, it's got to be Marsh.
Isn't that incredible, Mike?
Yeah.
Like, think about 297. Just take away April, which is, your first month of the season, and that's where it goes. So, I guess you have to get some confidence in him. He's really stroking the ball well. You'd like to get some power. And then, I don't know, is Kepler going to turn it around? Rob Thompson likes Otto Kemp an awful lot. He's played him at third base. He's played him out in left field. He likes his bat. So we'll see there. I don't know. I got to let it play out, I guess, Mike, and see how it goes.
Well, by May, June, and July, Kepler did not hit over 200 in May, June, or July. Under 200.
Yep.
I mean, usually that gets, you go to your boss, you're performing at that clip, you would say, sorry, no good. They ended up demoting Rojas. Let me get your opinion on this. You watch this team up close and personal. I would rather just have Rojas play center field every day and have Marsh and Bader platoon in left. I'm certainly stronger in left field, and I have my best defense out in the field too. Rojas would probably be a better option than Kepler at this point.
I'm not against that a little bit, Mike. I thought that's what they were going to do. I really did. And I said since last season that, okay, if you're going to commit to Rojas out in center field, you kind of do have a lineup with a Turner, a Schwarber, a Harper, a Real Muto, a Castellanos. If Marsh is hitting well, like with all those guys, with all that pretty good stuff, and you thought that Stott was going to be better than he was, what's wrong with having an extremely good center fielder hitting ninth?
Yeah.
And then when he does get on base, he can kind of wreak some havoc with the speed that he has. So,
well, he gets on base just as much, if not more, than Kepler does, so you might as well take advantage of it. And with this pitching staff, Bob, you want the best defense possible out there. If I got Weston Wilson parading around in left field and I'm the pitcher with Otto Kemp at third, no offense, I'm thinking, really? You gave me Kemp at third and Wilson in left field tonight? Gee, thanks.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't seem ideal. I hear you on that one. It's like I said, Rob Thompson really likes Otto Kemp. He's had a couple of good games, and he thinks his bat is coming around. He did say to us the other day that he thought Kepler's bat was coming around, and I think you could see a lot of eyes being raised in the media when Rob Thompson said that. I just don't see it with Kepler. It seems like he's struggling mightily. And when that happens, Mike, you've been around the game. No matter the sport, it's hard to go out there and play every day when you're not performing. And now the Boo Birds are coming out, of course, which, that's certainly their right. But they're coming out on him now pretty often. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
And I wanted to get your take. Bob Cooney from NBC Sports Philadelphia is at Citizens Bank Park with the Phillies. How hard is it? Like, you're around that guy, and he knows it. he knows he's the guy. I mean, and that can't be good for a team, that's trying to get rid of distractions, and you're in first place, but you're the guy on the first place team, and people are saying, we don't want you here, or why are you in the lineup, and they got a guy at AAA, why isn't he here? I got to imagine that starts to get to him.
Sure. Players, we look at them as robotic, but we have to remember they're human also. So Max Kepler's probably more upset with himself than he is the manager, his teammates, and certainly the fans. But nobody likes to get booed. Nobody likes to hear it. But I'm sure he understands it, and I'm sure he's more aggravated than the fans. So I don't know how much longer Rob Thompson will, give him to try to fix things out. But Thompson, if anything, is one of the most patient guys in sports I've ever seen. So.
Not more than Brett Brown. Really? More than Brett Brown?
Well, Brett was kind of told to be patient, right?
Yeah, Bob Cooney, by the way, suffered through the process years on that beat. I do want to get your take on Crawford. What do you make of this? Why, some people say, what more does this guy need to do? Have you gotten any indication of hey, give it time, he'll be here? I know that August 15th date has been set out that, he would not, they would not lose control of him if they brought him up then. Is it a fait accompli that he's up here? Or do you think they are legitimately going to try to get as much out of this crew as they can?
Well, the thing is that with Crawford is they thoroughly believe, and it's Thompson and it's Dombrowski, they thoroughly believe that he needs to play every day. And that if he comes up here, it's going to be a platoon situation. And if he comes up here and isn't hitting 3 out of 6 days, I mean, and I kind of understand it, is that good. He's a singles hitter. He gets on base. He steals bases. He doesn't have much power. It's one of those things. Okay, are you going to replace him for, I don't know, guys that you already have up here that do have the major league experience that maybe can turn it around? Basically, you're taking a chance on him here in what would be mid-August, Mike, and when you're, dead set in a playoff run. So I kind of understand them backing off. That's a lot to ask for a kid to come. Oh, by the way, go jump into the majors, start every day, get some base hits, and it's in the middle of a playoff push. That's tough. So I would be surprised if they brought him up here and he was playing with any regularity.
All right. So that's a little bit of a surprise, I think, of the people listening out there. I think everybody just assumes, hey, this is the guy. He'll be in center field. You'll have a Bader, Marsh left field. Kepler will be gone. But we could see, in your mind, a Kepler, Wilson, or probably Kepler, Kemp. I would imagine that Kemp will go back to left when Bohm comes back. That might be the way they enter the playoffs, with a Max Kepler, Otto Kemp left field platoon.
It could be. And look, they could very well bring up Crawford and say, here, it's yours. You're playing center every day, because they don't want to sit him. So they could. But, people that don't want to hear it or listen, how comfortable are you throwing in a rookie for a playoff push in the last month of the season? That's tough, Mike, as you very well know. And, I don't know. And if Marsh keeps hitting the way he is, well, you're probably going to have to, have him in center or left, and then basically you're platooning the other guys. So I think it's still going to play out here, and they're still kind of auditioning to see how it will play out.
Yeah, I know. We're talking with Bob Cooney, NBC Sports Philadelphia. Phillies, of course, making their trades. They had the weekend against the Tigers. How much, the Tigers are the best team in the American League. And Philly fans, you've talked to them your whole life. You've covered all these teams. It's always what they can't do, right? The bullpen's not good enough. They lost on Saturday. No one cares that you won 2 out of 3. It's that you lost on Saturday. But that's the best team in the American League. When you look at the Phillies, I say to Bill, there's no favorite in the National League. There's 6 teams that all can make a case. But when you see them stack up against the Tigers, you feel like, man, this team can win a World Series. If they don't, what happened? Why would this team not be good enough in your mind? They went out and got the bullpen. They went out and made the trade for Bader. But in the end, if we look back and said, man, they just didn't get it done again, what happened?
Well, it could be anything. You get into a playoff, you might have good pitching going. Look how good their starting pitching's been this year, right, Mike? It has been absolutely phenomenal. I don't know. What if they go into a playoff series and all of a sudden Wheeler or Suarez, somebody doesn't find it in a game or two? You're talking about a game. And then, you come back and you go, oh, man, I can't believe Wheeler didn't have it. And he gave up 4 runs and the offense only scored 3. There's such a myriad of things that could happen, both positively and negatively. You just have to find the right wave, right, during the playoffs, like they did. What was it, 22 or whatever? When they wound up beating St. Louis, and the big play was Bohm getting hit by a pitch, and a little squibbler going through the right side of the infield. Like it's just baseball is just such a different game, where different things can happen, though talent might say it should happen another way. Basketball, a lot of times it plays to form, football, whatever. But baseball's just different. And, Cody Ross, we can mention him. You can mention, hot pitching at a certain time. It's different. But if we look back on anything, Mike, yeah, you're going to have to probably go back to the offense and say, man, they just didn't get enough to help them out when it came playoff time.
All right, I want to go back to Crawford for a minute because I was just thinking about this. The lineup yesterday at Lehigh, all right, so Thompson says we want to have Rojas learn to play left and right. Well, of course, the first day he's in the lineup, he's playing center, and Crawford is playing left field. Are you like they tell you they want the one guy to learn how to play left and right, and then they put him in center and Crawford in left? So could we see a scenario maybe where they're getting Crawford ready to play left field, and they like the Marsh-Bader platoon in center field?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I still think they're trying to figure it out. So nothing really surprises me. I think you have 5 guys that you're kind of like, it's almost like you're juggling, and you're saying, okay, who's where and when, who's playing well, who's not, who's fielding well here. You make a great point, and I think I wrote this the other day. When they went and got Bader instead of getting somebody, like a heavy hitter or something like that, were they thinking, okay, we have great starting pitching. We're not going to get that banging bat that maybe many people wanted, so let's shore up the defense. And maybe that's what their thinking is. A Rojas, among a Rojas, a Bader, and what's his face, Marsh. Yeah. You do have 3 very good outfielders.
All right, I'll leave you with this, Bob. We saw randomly one night Nick Castellanos got pulled for defense. He then got sat. We really haven't seen that happen again. But I was talking to Hembo the other day. Paul Hembekitis was on, and he said if the Phillies want to be serious about winning the World Series, they're going to have to start pulling Castellanos for defense. Do you agree, and do you think that will happen with this group of outfielders that they potentially could have? They certainly have 3 guys that they could put 3 guys out there better than Castellanos. They could put Kepler would be a better option in right field. They could put Marsh in right field with Bader in left and Rojas in center. I'm sure if Crawford comes up here. So do you think we will eventually see them start to do that? Or is that this randomly this one and done thing that we never really saw again?
I think it's in Rob Thompson's mind situational. If it's a 3-run lead, 2-run lead, yes, I think it's more on the table. If it's a lead where you might need Castellanos' bat later on in the game and you don't want to mess with his mind, I think Thompson would stick with him in the outfield.
All right, well, that'll all unfold because that could be another interesting one. Nick Castellanos' defense, keep an eye on that. Bob Cooney from NBC Sports Philadelphia as the Phillies take on the Orioles. A 3-game set starts tonight. The pregame coverage, 6:45 is first pitch. You can check out the pregame at 6 o'clock over on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Bob Cooney, thanks, buddy.
Mike, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, we'll have Bob on throughout the baseball season as he is, of course, covering the Phillies now for NBC Sports Philadelphia. Good to catch up with him and talk a little Phils. Man, we used to talk a lot of Sixers during the process years when he was covering the Sixers for the Philadelphia Daily News. He is now covering the Phillies for NBC Sports Philadelphia. 609-403-0973. That is one thing, that Hembo told us on Friday's show. If the Phillies want to be serious about winning the World Series, they are going to have to start doing something with Castellanos in the outfield. And I agree with him. I think that's something that Thompson is going to have to start thinking about doing. Now, again, these things are complicated. Is somebody saying, look, Castellanos making $20 million, you can't pull him? I don't know how that works. If I'm Rob Thompson, I'm probably saying I got to get him out of the lineup there. I've got to do something. I can play. Again, I said I would not have sent Rojas down. I would have DFA'd Kepler or Wilson. Wilson could be gone, and you could have kept Kepler if you wanted, and you could play Rojas in center, Bader in left, and then late in the games you have options to replace Castellanos. Marsh. Kepler can play right field. He's a better right fielder than he is a left fielder. So I definitely think it's something that the Phillies organization has to come together and say, we have to do something with Castellanos in right field late in these games. I think Hembo's right. If the Phillies want to be serious about winning this World Series, you got to have every single advantage. And right now, that's why I would have kept Rojas up here. He's the best defensive option, and your offense, your defense with Rojas in center and Bader in left, and then Marsh or Kemp playing right field late in the game, that gives you your best opportunity to win. If you have a lead late, Johan Duran, if he's on the mound, you want a ball, 103-mile-per-hour fastball, and a guy's late on it, and it goes flaring down the right field line, a right-handed bat, and Castellanos can't get to it or misplays it, I can't afford that. If I'm up 2-0 in the game and Johan Duran comes in the game, throws 103, guy sticks out a little blooper over that side, and Castellanos just can't get there because his range is not all that good, no way. Not happening. Can't afford that. Got to think about upgrading that spot late in games. And, quite frankly, listen, it's sad, but Castellanos is so – this is crazy to even think, right? Castellanos is so far and away a better offensive player, and that's a lot coming from me, right? the rest of the crew, that you can't platoon him out there because he's just so much better than – if you would say platoon Kepler and Castellanos, no, it's not even that. It's you just got to play defense for him. So you got to play Castellanos offensively because that's how bad the rest of the options are in the outfield. All right, coming up, more Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We'll get to the lineup for tonight. Phil's in action against the Orioles. Lineup tonight does have a couple interesting names in there. If you missed it, we'll get it to you coming up on the Sports Bash Live. This hour is brought to you by Whitehorse RV Center in Williamstown and Galloway. The summer clearance event is now at Whitehorse RV Center. Your RV adventure starts here. Whitehorse RV, Williamstown and Galloway. Stick around. More Sports Bash on the way. All right, 5:30 on a Monday night, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Thanks to Bob Cooney from the NBC Sports Philadelphia Phillies coverage. He'll join us throughout the rest of the baseball season right here on the Sports Bash. You know, we're working on our fall lineup as football season is getting here, but we want a lot of Phils. We want a lot of Phils. We want deep Phillies runs. We want October deep Phillies baseball. And you can listen to Phillies playoff baseball right here on 97.3 ESPN. We got Phillies on Saturday and Sunday. We had the Phillies and Tigers for your Saturday and Sunday. You got the Skubal-Wheeler game. People are wondering, Christopher Sanchez right now, do you have more faith in Sanchez than you do Wheeler?
I don't think you have more confidence. I just think that you just have to accept the fact that Wheeler right now is just not at his best. It's August 4th. It's okay. It's okay if he's not at his best in July and August, as long as he's still himself in October.
Well, if he continues to pitch like this and Sanchez continues to pitch the way he does, what if that plays out and you're like into September, October, and Wheeler's kind of struggling along a little bit? Not bad, just kind of not himself, and then you're getting this version of Sanchez.
You still have to go
Are
with the stud.
people going to wonder whether or not you go with Sanchez first?
The people who are wondering that don't know baseball then. Because baseball, historically, you go with the stud, you go with the ace, no matter what his regular season may have been. You know, there are many times over the years where you have guys like Justin Verlander, for example. They have struggled at times in the regular season, but when the postseason comes around, they still get the ball game one. You can't tell your ace, hey, buddy, we're going to give the ball to Sanchez.
Well, I will say, at one point, it did flip here. Nola was the guy until Wheeler took it from him, and they flipped him.
Yeah, but I don't think Sanchez is taking it from him. I think just Wheeler's had a couple of starts where he's been met.
I'm not saying yet. I'm just saying if they continue on this pace the rest of the season, you get Sanchez last night dominant. He absolutely carved that lineup up. He was unbelievable. He really could have completed the game. I mean, realistically, you could have said, why didn't you keep him out there? Right? I mean,
sure, but
if they didn't have Joan Duran to close that game out, where like now you don't care. But if they didn't have Duran, you would have said, why did they take Sanchez out of that game? Would you not?
You probably would have, but I think Rob Thompson's explanation last night was very poignant, where he said after the game, and I'm not quoting him exactly, but he basically said that, hey, Sanchez is going deep into a lot of games for us. We don't need him to go all 9 innings every single night. We should be able to win these games.
I would agree with that, and I wonder how much, though, that's impacted by the fact that I have a closer now. Because if I don't have a closer, where was he at 88 pitches last night?
I think it was 84.
Whatever it was low. It was definitely under 90. And in any situation, if this was the former Phillies bullpen that did not have Duran in the back end of that bullpen, I'm pretty sure you would have saw him throw in the ninth inning, that being Sanchez. Listen, I
84.
84 pitches.
Yeah.
He couldn't have pitched the ninth inning last night. Of course he could.
The stupid numbers I remember versus others.
Yeah, but there's no question he could have kept pitching last
Absolutely. Night. But I do think it's,
yeah, go ahead.
There's nothing wrong with being a little careful, cautious.
I'm not, listen, I understand. Like, it's a regular season game in August. I don't need you to throw 100 pitches to throw a complete game. But I'm telling you, if they did not have Duran back there, I think he would have pitched the ninth inning yesterday. Do you?
That's a great question.
I definitely think he
I think Sanchez probably goes out there unless there's something.
We've seen him do it before. He's thrown complete games.
I know, but I mean, I'm just saying that maybe there was a point where the Phillies had before the game that front office manager meeting with like, hey, we're going to keep Sanchez under. I don't know what his number was last night. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I wouldn't be shocked if they said, listen, it's the number's 90. That you got to keep him around. And Caleb Cotham comes up with a lot of these numbers.
He does.
He's the guy that basically they lean on.
But these numbers are agreed upon before the game.
No, I agree with that. I know that for a fact is, that Cotham, but Cotham's the analytic guy for the pitching staff. He's the one that basically says this is the pitch number for him. People act like Rob Thompson's like, I'm gonna come up with a number today. It's gonna be because Thompson. First of all, Thompson plays his hand sometimes. He says 6 innings or 85 pitches. Like he'll tell you the innings and the pitches.
Correct.
He's given those numbers. Those numbers are given to him. Hey, Topper, tonight you have the pitcher for either 6 innings or 85 pitches, whatever comes first. Now, the Sanchez yesterday, could they have told him you got 90 pitches from him today? Certainly plausible. That being said, we have seen Sanchez throw complete games in the past where he's been over 84 pitches.
Absolutely.
Now, they could say it's August. We don't want him throwing 100 pitches in right now, and maybe that happened. I wonder, though, if Joan Duran was not here, whether or not Topper would have said, I know my limit's 90. He's at 84. If I go to 95, what's the difference?
I think it would be clearer for me, Mike, if the circumstances were flipped with a different player. Like if that was Wheeler and not Sanchez. You know what I mean? Guys like Sanchez, Suarez, they're kind of, I don't want to say they've been babied at times, but they've been managed differently. Is that fair to say?
Wheeler and Sanchez, they should be managed differently.
Right.
100%.
So to me, like if you would have told me, wow, they took Wheeler out with 85 pitches after 8 innings and brought in Duran, I'd be like, whoa, that's a clear sign. Whereas Sanchez, I feel like they do, I don't want to say baby him, but there have been times that it feels like they kind of hold back the horse a
Well,
little
he
bit.
did have that one weird start early in the year where he had that like forearm little thing, and other than that, I mean, we haven't seen that bounce back. But I will say this. His pitch count this season, 84, 88, 106. Now, the game he threw 106, that was a complete game. That was the game against Boston. So in that game, he did go to 106. But 84, 88, 106, 86, 105, 85, and then 99, 91, 98, 100, 96, 88, 83, 89. But the numbers are all like right in that 88, 83, 89, 98, 85, 87.
They're all around the same.
They're all around the same. So it's obvious that, like, hey, he's in that 85 to 100 area. You can't really go. Now, the one game that he went over 100 was the complete game that he pitched against Boston. That was a couple weeks ago. So after that game, when he went to 106, the next game he pitched was that White Sox game where they lost that game 6-2, and he got into the 7th inning. They pulled him at 88 pitches. So as we're getting later in the year, what did we hear? There was a report a couple weeks ago that they wanted to try to lessen the playing time for Real Muto. I haven't seen that yet.
I haven't seen it yet either, which I'm a little surprised about because it's not like Marchand is like the worst catcher in the world. Like he does a good job back there defensively. I know he doesn't give you much offensively, but he's more than competent defensively as Marchand.
Yes, but I do agree. Wheeler definitely has a longer leash. There's no doubt about that.
That's
Wheeler
what I'm saying.
Definitely has a longer leash.
That's what I'm saying. I'd be more surprised if they pulled Wheeler in that situation. You know what I mean? If the names were switched, but the same circumstance.
Yesterday, though, you saw a situation where they didn't have to pull Sanchez from that game.
True.
But now they have a toy that they want to play with. I did see this tweet from Boop Stats, Bob Vitrone Jr. You ready for this one?
Give it to me.
Joan Duran pitching with 0 days rest since July 3rd of 2023, including the postseason. 0 days rest, meaning back-to-back days. A 0.53 ERA, 2 runs in 34 innings, and a 0.882 whip, 22 hits and 8 walks. You're talking about over 2 years.
Oh, my goodness.
On 0 days rest.
That is insane.
Crazy. All right, as the calendar flips to August, are you all in on the Phillies? 74% all in, absolutely. 15%, nope, not buying in. And 9% say EAGLES. They are on the Eagle season. So a good 75% are all in. They are buying into the Phillies. And I wonder if, hey, they beat the Tigers. That's a good team. I'm in. Right? Is that enough for the people out there? And I think, listen, I don't know this. I do think that the final couple pieces to this Phillies puzzle are still not completed.
I agree.
So I think there's one big piece being Crawford.
Okay.
And I think you'll see that. His first game will probably be Saturday. But by the way, the Eagles play the Browns that day.
That is correct.
That is a preseason game.
Here the game starting at 12 o'clock here
It's
on
a
97.3
noon game, right?
ESPN.
It's a noon game. So you'll have Eagles football on that particular day, and the Phillies will be playing Washington in a 4:05 game. Could that game, Saturday, August 16th, be the debut of Justin Crawford?
It's certainly within the realm of very likelihood.
Okay, so that would be one piece of this puzzle. Another piece of the puzzle will be when David Robertson finally gets called up here and who he replaces on the roster. I would imagine, there's a couple options here of guys who could be the player that ends up getting, demoted here. Now, I'm kind of intrigued because is Jordan Romano in danger of being replaced? He would be one of the guys, right?
He could be. I feel like it's more likely that they do something like, depending on Robertson's timetable. Like, I could see a scenario like, let's say he's available next week, just using that as an example. Let's say they're like, hey, August 9th, let's get him up here. And there's not like an obvious guy. Maybe that's a scenario where they DFA Kepler. They just go with the extra pitcher.
Well, I
in the
think
bullpen.
you're going to I think if you maybe an extra pitcher, but keep this in mind, they're going to move a starter to the bullpen at some point too.
They will. Yes.
So I think when Robertson's ready to come up, and right now he is, been a little rusty. You could tell that he has not pitched well. His velocity's getting better though. He was up to like 93, 94, and Robertson's not a hard thrower to begin with. All right, but he is getting hit around a little bit. He gave up 3 hits again yesterday. I would imagine Robertson comes up and like Alan Rangel or Seth Johnson are the ones that go down first. Then the question will be Painter. Does Painter come up into the rotation for the month of September so that Luzardo can get a month in the bullpen? Because I think it is definitely trending towards Luzardo will be the left-hander in the bullpen, and you're going to want to get him some bullpen appearances, I would think, in September. So maybe Painter comes up and replaces Luzardo in the rotation, and Luzardo goes to the bullpen, and then you replace, Rangel or Seth Johnson or whoever's the one that's still here.
I'm not buying that one. That one I think is a bit of a stretch for a couple reasons. One, because unless the Phillies have everything locked up by the beginning of September, I don't see a scenario where Luzardo goes to the bullpen yet. And I don't even know if Painter is ready to come up here. Remember, there's tons of people who have mentioned they're not sure if Painter is ready. If he, there's all that concern with the slider, right? All kinds of concerns about is his control ready yet? So if you have concerns about a guy's control, maybe he isn't ready for the major leagues yet. Not saying he's not talented. He won't be a great pitcher down the road, but maybe just 20-25 is not his
I think
year.
his last couple outings, though, the walks have been down. He's starting to control a little bit better. Yeah, I definitely think that, it's not a fait accompli, but if I'm the Phillies, now listen, they're going to have to call up Nola, I would imagine, in like a week or two. He's got another start coming up Wednesday, and then he'll have probably one more after that, and then Nola will replace Walker.
Correct.
At that point, I think you'll see 2 more starts out of Painter. His last 2 starts have been pretty good. And if those 2 starts continue to trend in the right direction, do you bring Painter up so that Luzardo can start getting some action in the bullpen? Because you don't want to put Luzardo in the bullpen for the first time October the 4th.
I hear what you're saying, but and maybe this is just an ignorant question, but does he need practice in the bullpen? Like, is that?
Yeah, I just said you don't want to have your first time in the bullpen being on October 4th. That is a very ignorant question. What do you?
Well,
do you
I'm
need
asking
time
the
in
question.
bullpen?
I'm asking the question because baseball.
Well, I gave you an answer. Your face
guys,
was one of which I don't really buy that.
Well, baseball history is full of guys who've gone to the bullpen, the postseason, and been fine.
We're talking about a different situation. People act like starters go to the bullpen and pitch every day out of the bullpen. They have one appearance every once in a while. You might bring in Madison Bumgarner to get Game 7 and save that moment right there. You're not asking him to be a bullpen pitcher the whole playoff journey, right? There's a big difference between, hey, can you get me the last inning of the biggest game of the season?
Mm-hmm.
You're the best pitcher on our team. Yes, I can do that. I can pitch one inning, and then I don't have to pitch in the bullpen the rest of the playoffs. There's a difference between that and then the mindset of a guy who you're saying, I need you to be a bullpen pitcher. What does that mean? How is that different from my normal day? Normally, I pitch one day, I throw about 100 pitches, and then I don't pitch for 4 or 5 days in a row. Now, hey, can you get Luzardo up? He starts throwing. Nah, we don't need him. Sit him back down. Okay. Hey, can you get Luzardo back up? Okay, now he's throwing again. Now he comes into the game, and now he pitches. He threw 25 pitches. Hey, Luzardo, how's your arm feel? Are you available again tomorrow? I don't know. I never really did this before. It's a completely different mindset for these guys that it doesn't sound like a big deal throwing 25 pitches. It really doesn't. But if you throw 25 pitches on Friday, again the next day, but you're throwing at the big league level. You can't go in there being 85% thinking, my arm's fine, but it's a little sore. Like, what is your bounce back the next day? So, yeah, if I'm the Phillies and I'm making your role a bullpen pitcher, I want to see if you can throw back-to-back days. Can you throw 2 days in a row? 25 pitches Friday night, followed up with another big-time situation. Can you come into a big spot and get a big out right there? Now, you have to throw 3 batters, but you could be the guy that comes in. Let's say the first 3 hitters of the inning were right-handed, and one of them get on base, and now a lefty comes up. Can I call you into that game? The situation that Bob Wankel has brought up. Can you go in and get Juan Soto out in the 8th inning of a playoff game? That's a different role than being a starting pitcher pitching in the 2nd inning of a game. It's a big situation that I think if I'm the Phillies, I want to start getting him prepared for sooner than later. More Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. All right, when we come back, it's the Bet365 Play of the Day. That's next. This is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 5:52, getting ready to get out of here on this Monday night. It's time for the Bet365 play of the day. How'd we do on Friday? I know the Phils came back and won.
Phillies won their game, Mike, but you split the difference because the A's and Diamondbacks only was a 5-1 ball game, so you did not get the 9.5.
All right, we'll do better tonight, I promise, right?
You are
Got the Mets in the over tonight. Mets and the over. Sean Manaea, by the way, going for the Mets tonight. So Mets and the over. Plus, I'm going to throw in the Astros in that play as well. Little Astros for you. Throw the Astros in that mix.
Astros straight up?
Yep.
Okay.
Astros to play there. Where's the there it is. No, where's that Astro game at? Trying to put them into the app so I could see when you combine them.
What the number is.
What the number is.
Yeah.
Where is the Astros? Where is the Astros? Oh, there it is. Okay. Plus 450, you do that. Astros trying to snap that hot Marlins streak there. Sandy Alcantara going tonight. Astros are.
You thought you'd ever say that? Hot Marlins
Oh, they
streak?
just swept they swept the Yankees for the first time ever.
Ever.
First time they ever swept the Yankees.
I ran into a Yankees fan this weekend. He told me, he's like, he thinks Boone is either going to quit or get fired by the end of the year.
Yeah, he looks miserable. By the way, the Bet365 play today, $10 plus 450 odds will pay you $55.
Woo!
So there you go. That'll do it for me. We're back tomorrow reacting to the Phillies and the Orioles. We'll have Frank's Phillies mailbag. You'll hear from Nick Sirianni tomorrow. Football at 4. Adam Kaplan is on the show tomorrow. Hey, thanks to our guest today, Bob Cooney from NBC Sports Philadelphia, Vic Fangio, Presser, and, of course, Jeff Mosher from Football at 4, and Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. I am Mike Gill. This has been the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Henning produced today's show. Coming up next, we're going over to the Margate World War II Memorials. I feel like we need John Facenda to send us out to Margate to get you ready for that. Instead, you're getting Billy Schwein. Womp womp. He'll do fine. Billy and the crew are all ready to go from the Margate Memorials tonight. Right here on 97.3 ESPN. No John Facenda. Billy Schwein coming up next, live from the beach on Decatur Avenue in Margate.